know. Do what it happens, radio. Do what it a place where men and women. Do what a show. Do what it is, radio. Do what it is. Crazy show is on 3 times a week. Do what. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, do what it up. Well, 'cause you don't know. Do what it up. And radio, that's the place for you. Russ Kane, Phil Day.
It's Friday. Hello.
Which means my entire weekend is screwed up. I had such a lovely weekend planned as well. Hi, everybody. Men's Radio Daily Show. It's Friday, and what are we going to say? You can hear us like everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Well, that's the way to look at it.
Deluxe Radio, Radio Waves, and of course, go on to the Men's Radio YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, press the like button. It does us a big favor. It takes you 3 seconds. Come on, do us a favor. We really need your help. I want to start with an apology before we even get any further. As you know, every now and then, 23 years ago, I had a huge car crash and I had to learn to walk again. Not fun. And every now and then, with no warning, it smashed up my back badly. Well, you would if you had to learn to walk again. And when it flares up, and it's random, it just happens, there is nothing I can do about it apart from go on opioids, which I hate doing because they are awful. They're the heaviest things you can get by prescription. And the side effect, the whole thing is horrible. So I apologize if I'm not quite my normal bon vivant self. But there you go. That is life. Let's say hello to some people, shall we, Philip?
Well, why not indeed? Let's say a very good morning to Diane Taylor. Hello as well to Paul Claridge. Paul Claridge says, good morning, everyone. Hope my fellow Daily Show community members have had a great week. Paul just goes to show, as per, you're being very considerate. Veronica Curran says, morning all.
From Edinburgh. She's up in Edinburgh. Big fan of the ABC of CBD.
Well, she says, Russ, I hope the pain is calming down by the sound of it.
Not a hell of a lot.
I don't think so, if I'm honest. Oh, dear.
Really.
And then also we've got Michael Verby, who says, morning, gentlemen. Sen
All
Monrose.
the way from Spain. He's in Spain. Sen Monroe's in Monroe Land. He's in Ziggy Land.
He says, hello, peeps. Not quite sure why he says it like that, but anyway, apparently that's what he says.
I don't know. Maybe that's how he got the audition on Amazon for his new film.
Flash himself, Barry J. Allen says, bit late, sorry.
Emma Webb, hello, my love, says Emma Webb. Paul Andrews, I see Susie. Phil, you're in with a chance. I see Susie Dent has left her husband. She was a former guest. There is no correlation. Let me just be very clear. There is no correlation whatsoever between our guests on the radio dumping their husbands and leaving. There's no correlation at all. Michael Verby, shut your face. I'll have to see you one day, Mike. You know, I haven't seen Michael since he was about 6 or 7, which is hilarious that he listens.
You know, the funny thing about Michael's comments is I thought exactly the same, Michael, but whatever.
No, trust me, there is a big difference. Ramsey, hello. What is it me or does anyone miss? I miss the Friday Hollow Run. I miss it.
I'm sorry.
What we need to do, where Phil is up on the 14th floor of a mystery building somewhere in London, you got to go down to the canteen, take it over, and just make your holler.
I'll ask them if I can do that one day. I'm sure they won't mind.
They won't mind. Rupert and Rebecca come in and you can have a tasting. It'd be lovely. Sam Monroe,
not that you're determined to give away where I am, but anyway.
Everybody knows where you are, you dick. Sam Monroe, filming put on hold due to someone testing. Oh, Jesus, Sam. This is the thing. This is the thing, you know, when it's really hard. The film industry is one of the few industries that really beautifully regulated COVID. They had to. And all my pals in the industry tell me exactly how they've done it. It's terrific. It's terrific. But, when somebody gets COVID or tested positive, the whole thing goes south.
But this is the whole
yeah.
point, is that I feel like the punishment for getting everything in check.
I'm sorry. But Lloyd, that's the first thing that's made me laugh all week. Big shout out to the... Read it out and I'll explain the gag. Can you read out Lloyd Beanie's?
Lloyd Beanie says, big shout out to the Conics Massive.
The Conics Massive. When Lloyd and I were kids, Nanny Iris...
I'm not entirely sure it works the way I say it, but anyway.
No, of course it doesn't. Big shout out to the Conics Massive. That's the way you say it. It's not going to work. So when Lloyd and I were kids, and we didn't know each other when we were kids, but we've been pals since he was 74. We've been pals. God knows why we still are. And so Lloyd Ski's mum, Nanny Iris, who turned out eventually to be my next door neighbour, fabulous neighbours, and my mum, they would take us individually to a shop in North Finchley called Conics Young Fashion. Conics Young Fashion. And it's a standing joke with us all these years, like 40, 50 years later. Beanie and I still, I don't know what just makes us laugh when we were kids. Dave Sleet, the great guru of APN, APA and everything, great psychological genius. Greetings, one and all. Watching while training for my... You bloody mad. What's the matter with you? Doing a half a marathon? I could eat half a marathon, but that's it. That's as far as I could get. Ramsey, you better read this out, Phil, because it's an important...
Thanks. Is Phil
Ramsey
wearing gloves like Jordan Pickford, or one glove like Michael Jackson? Also, when Phil goes for a call of nature, do the gloves come off? Well, Ramsey, I'm delighted to confirm that number one...
They come off his... Well, Phil, they come off your knob, don't they, obviously, because otherwise you couldn't do a wee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
Ramsey, I'm delighted to confirm that I literally have nowhere to go with that. So, number one, I'm delighted to confirm that I'm wearing two gloves. And the second point that you make, I would like to reassure you that all of the appropriate steps for the most sanitized of situations occurs whenever one does go for a call of nature. Anyway, all of that to one side, and riveting as this is, I'm sure I can smell an aria.
Oh my God!
I think
now,
it's...
Sen, this is getting 6 degrees of separation. Lloyd and Russ, Sen Munro, who eventually I will say, I think Sen, you and I would just have maybe you, me, and Phil would just have a lunch in town. That would be nicer than a big mass meeting. That's kind of what we're thinking. Anyway, Sen, Lloyd and Russ, the N12 Mafia, absolutely, it was N12. Ballard's Lane, Cosa Nostra, totally. And then you say all Mafia meetings at Chick Chock's. Now, Chick Chock's was a chain of like little coffee shops, patisseries and cake shops owned by one of my dearest, oldest friends, Simon Landau. Simon and Michelle Landau owned that. Chick Chock's, that's so weird. You mentioned Chick Chock's, a name I haven't heard in absolutely ages. Simon Landau, one of the nicest people you would ever wish to meet. Lovely.
Was he the bloke behind Yo Sushi?
Simon, no, he never did Yo Sushi. That wasn't
okay. No, because I'm sure there's another famous Simon who did Yo Sushi or anything like that. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah,
right,
his name was Simon Sushi. That's why they called it Yo Sushi.
Oh, that's
nice.
As opposed to Sushi Dent. Thank you. Anyway,
yeah.
Now I
tell you what. I tell you what a coincidence. The guy name was Simon Sushi, and he opened a sushi chain. What are the chances?
What on earth are the chances?
What
seriously?
are the chances of that? Slim. I'm still laughing about Chick Chock's. Sen, when you were a kid, right? I presume you were at some point. Although I'm feeling we were all born middle aged. Did you ever go to Conics Young Fashion? Used to love it there. That's good.
Apparently, Phil, that's Simon Woodruff. Apparently, there you go. Thank you, Ed.
Oh look,
okay.
Andrea Lucas, baked potato queen, for obvious reasons. You can watch out with the surname. The first place I was taken to meet my stepsons. What, Chick Chock's? Wow, isn't that weird? 6 degrees of separation.
Now, before
You see, I'm sorry, these pills make me completely bonkers. But Ramsey, cool, I'll avoid the mince at peanuts. Phil and I have an absolute obsession. You know, when you go to a restaurant, there's mince and peanuts, and you think, you put your hands in there, are you bloody mental? What's the matter with you? Who knows what? Oh, come on, that's disgusting.
Like one of
Speaking
those,
of disgusting,
like one of those games at the pier, you know, where you have to try and use a joystick to let a claw go down and bring up a soft toy that's made cheap or something like that, and it always drops it because it's never got the right grip. But anyway, now waiting very patiently in the green room, and he
how
actually has been
tricky
waiting
is
for
it for you to
quite a long time.
pick up peanuts? Do you use like a kitchen? Doesn't matter. Bring on my mate. Come on, let's go.
Quite. Now, waiting very patiently in the green room is already our first guest for the morning because Richard Shelton is his name, and acting and performing is his game. So we're very pleased that he's taken.
Did you think of that? Did you write that?
No, I feel like I've heard it before somewhere. I don't know where.
Richard Shelton is his name, and acting performing is his game.
That was absolutely beautiful. I'm not entirely sure what note it was sung in, but it was beautiful all the same.
It was sung in the note of 2 pints and 6 eggs, please. That was the note.
Cracking. Anyway, bring on Richard Shelton. Sorry, that was a terrible joke. Thank you very much. Oh dear. I've got a few more to spare. Bring me
3 hours of being off my face. All right, let's go.
Unbelievable.
Dickie
Richard,
Shelton,
a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Dickie,
nice to
could
see
you look any more handsome if you tried?
Yes.
You're so annoying. He's so annoying. He's just ridiculously talented, charming, and he's handsome. I hate him. Well, I don't know why you invited him. Oh, I invited him. How are you, Dickie? You good?
Very well. A little bit jet lagged, but pretty good. Coming out the other side.
You've only come in from Croydon. No one's impressed.
Yeah, LA via Croydon. That's me.
LA via Croydon. So, because you live out in LA.
Yep,
and I first met you bizarrely through our mutual wonderful friend, the legendary Shirley Green.
Yes.
I think that's where I first met you. And I think I first met you there. It was her 80th birthday party. And she threw this wonderful bash. And you were the master of ceremonies and the MC. And then you did some wonderful singing. It was a fantastic night up in the hills.
Yeah.
It was just great.
It was.
Anyway, but you're not originally from LA, because I always love it in the middle of your show when you do your original, where you were Wolverhampton. Was it Wolverhampton? Am I going mad?
Wolverhampton, born and bred. Yeah, God's land.
The land that time forgot.
I could give you a bit of Wolverhampton if you wanted to. You know, it always warms the cockles of my heart to hear this accent. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Anyway,
here's another of my fabulous tunes. Come fly with me off the Capitol label. It was great. Now, tell us. Apart from we're thrilled to see you, tell us why you're over in London.
Well, I've been stuck in LA for about 1.5 years now. What with the lockdown and all work cancelled, so I'm back, for family and friends. But more importantly, I've got a couple of shows. So I'm performing. I've got a long association, as you know, with Frank Sinatra, and I'm at a wonderful venue tonight and on Sunday called the Crazy Cocks in Brasserie Zidelle in Piccadilly.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's
the best. In my view, and I don't know where you stand on this. I've done a show there myself, but I think it's the greatest cabaret venue in London. I really do.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I've never been. It's just by Piccadilly, and I thoroughly recommend it. It's wonderful.
I mean, it's intimate, isn't it? And it's a little bit chic-y, it's a little bit classy, but it's not stuffy in any way.
Not at all. Not at all. It always reminds me when you see those sort of 1940s black and white movies and they go, let's go to the club, and and Lana Turner or someone sitting at the table, you expect to look around and see Phil got the little lights on the tables. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I'm doing a show called Shelton on Sinatra. So we're going to be looking at, obviously, the canon of his marvelous work, but also doing some songs from an album that I recorded over in Los Angeles, and it got delayed, and more recently it got delayed because of the pandemic, and it's very hard to release a product unless you can support it by live performance. So
Of
we've been
course.
waiting and waiting, and all being well, it's all happening now. And then a little later on in the year, in August, I'm at a place called Wilton's, which I believe you've been to.
Wilson's Music Hall. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah, wonderful.
What a
With
place.
It's phenomenal. With with a play called Sinatra Raw, which I did at Edinburgh, and then we did at Wilton's
Yeah.
in 2019, I think it was. So it's great to come home, and bring some interesting tales of Frank Sinatra with me.
You scared the hell out of me when you did Sinatra Raw, because I'm expecting Dickie Shelton.
Oh yeah.
And you never broke. Am I allowed to just say what it is?
Yes.
I was so impressed. I mean,
Thank you.
I wanted you on, A, because you're a mate, and B, because I am such a fan of your
Thank you.
work. It is every bit as good as you would dream it would be. And the
Cheers.
idea of Sinatra Raw is that Richard casts his spell, and if I get any of this wrong, just yell at me.
Okay.
That it's the Pink Flamingo Club in sort of the late 50s, early sort of 60s, and you create it as though you are Sinatra and you never break character. And you're drinking Jack Daniels. I mean, it's not actually Jack, but as Sinatra. And I'm thinking, oh, good, we're just going to see Dickie Shelton. He's going to sing some songs and be his normal, charming self. And you get nastier and nastier. And you're sitting in the audience going, oh, please don't pick on me, because it's Sinatra.
Well, if you
as it
don't mind me
was
saying, Richard, I'm actually mightily impressed just how much Jack Daniels you can pack away.
Yes, I mean it. Yeah. Tea.
It's a
tea.
fantastic. It's a very different show, isn't it? It's a wonderful show. I loved it. I've seen it twice. I thought it was great.
Well, the beauty of that one is that you're going behind the blue eyes and you're going inside the head of that man, and it's at a time where he's starting to face, middle age and redundancy, and he's wondering what his purpose in life is. It really is. His third marriage to Mia Farrow has failed, and it's the time of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and David Bowie, and he's feeling, well, who wants to see 50-odd-year-old Frank Sinatra anymore? So it's about what's going on inside his head, and like you say, the more he drinks, the more the demons play out in his mind, and it's potent stuff. It's a good show.
It's terrific, and of course there's something. I am such an uber fanboy; it's ridiculous. There's something special about the suit that you wear.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it is indeed Frank Sinatra's very own tuxedo. So I did a play about, it's a while ago now, 12 years ago, more, slightly more, at the Nottingham Playhouse, and then what was the Whitehall Theatre, as it was then, and. We discovered I'm the exact dimensions of Frank Sinatra.
Unbelievable.
When I went to live in America, by a fluke, by a coincidence, I happened to be at a recording party at Capitol Records, and this woman beside me turned around and said, "Hey, I'm Heidi. I'm a TV producer working on a reality show, and we've just got Frank Sinatra's tuxedo, and we're looking for a home for it." I mean, apropos of nothing. So I tried it on, and what do you know? It fits, and I own it. It's mine.
And it fits. The annoying thing for me is it fits absolutely to perfection. It's amazing.
It's bizarre,
and it's a big kick. If you're a Sinatra nut, which I am, it's a big kick to think that's Frank's suit. It just adds to the whole mystique of it.
Yeah.
How did you get into the Sinatra thing, Dickie? What was that about?
I'd been seen for a couple of shows actually to play Sinatra, and I didn't get them. And I was in the jazz scene anyway, so I was working the jazz scene around London, and I knew that my singing voice and his, there was a similar shape and cadence and sort of the same range, and then the Nottingham Playhouse got in touch, and it was very much an acting role. It was a drama role, and I remember saying to my agent at the time, "Is this for real? Because I don't want to get messed around on another Frank Sinatra, audition." They said, "No, it's real. It's real." So I went to the interview with a bit of attitude. Do you know what I mean? I was like, "Is this? Don't mess me around here. Is this for real?" And they said, "No." And that helped the whole, process. It gave it a bit of edge. So that's where it all started, with the Nottingham Playhouse, and I haven't looked back since. Really, I'm very
Now, am
grateful.
I going mad? Were you in the Rat Pack Confidential? One of those?
Yeah,
I
I was
remember.
in Rat Pack Confidential. Yeah, so there were two at the time we did it. There were two shows in the West End. There was the Rat Pack,
Yeah.
which was I think it was called the Rat Pack Live from Las Vegas. So it was a tribute show. It was a very good show, but it was the jokes and the gags and the pratfalls and the mucking about. But Confidential was about the five men in the Rat Pack, and it went very much behind. You know, it was quite a dark piece.
I really
Which to me
enjoyed
is,
it. But that's why I first saw you. I didn't know you then,
yeah,
but so
no,
I saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, this is great." One of our viewers, Diane Taylor. Hi, Diane. I saw Richard at Cadogan Hall a few years ago as Sinatra.
yes.
Superb performance and evening.
Thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much. That's lovely. Thank you very
And
much.
then Paul Claridge jumping in there. I love Wilton's Music Hall. Best thing I saw there was a full remastered version of Metropolis.
Wow.
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 Accompanied by a brilliant Russian classical pianist. Wow.
Wow.
That would have been
Nice.
something.
Yeah.
An extraordinary place, Wilton's Music Hall. I mean, at one point they were going to close it or something. If you've never been, please grab. That's right. Oh, you won't believe this, Richard. I mean, this is 6 degrees of separation. Ed Grossman. Hi, Richard. I represented Frank Jr. a while back when he toured here.
Wow. Wow. How about that then? That's amazing.
That is terrific. That is terrific. So how long are you over here? What's the deal with flying backwards and forwards, by the way?
Yeah, it's
Does that work?
it's a palaver. So you have to get obviously all the appropriate tests in America 3 days in advance. Have to you have to show your certificates and that you're eligible to fly. And when you get we were in quarantine for 5 days, so we paid extra money to have a quick test. But yeah, you have to send in 5 tests. And we were out after about 6 days. We were out. But
so hang on, you flew. I find this confusing. So there you are in LA, and just walk me through them, because everyone's confused about this. And there you are, you've done it, so you could help a lot of people, because a lot of people on the show want to travel. You're in LA. You're going to go. You have to do something before you leave LA. I mean, apart from all the tests, and then you arrive at the airport, and then what?
Okay, so you arrive with your 3 certificates. So you've got your because I'm double vaccinated, so you have to prove that you are indeed that person. You take your negative test paperwork, and then you have to supply name and address of where you're going to quarantine, and commit that you're not going to go outdoors, and that you've got your tests already set up in advance. So it's quite a. I mean, I get why, but it's quite a stringent process to go through. I'm glad to be out the other side.
Yeah, what about on the? I know this isn't why you're here, but so many people are so worried. So you've walked it. So let's delve in, if I may. What about on the plane? Do you have to? Please don't tell me you wear a mask for 11.5 hours.
Yeah, you do.
I couldn't bear that. No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, man. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's really not. But to be honest with you, I'm a good sleeper on a plane. So I just I took a little melatonin, which is like like a mild sleeping pill. And bang, I was out cold for about 8 hours. And I just think when you got to do it, and all the staff, all the flight attendants were masked up. So you just think, well, I'll just get on with that.
I couldn't. And then when you arrive in Heathrow, because again there's a load of confusion over this, and I'm not being able to ask anybody.
Yeah.
What happens? You've arrived at Heathrow, and then
I must confess, it wasn't actually that bad. It wasn't that different from when you normally arrive. It was the queues were a bit longer. But you just have to wait, and it's a question of showing all this certification. But I guess we were in the line about 40 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. So it wasn't. I'd read that people were in these lines for hours and hours, but that wasn't my experience. It wasn't so bad.
And then you have to isolate for once you get here.
Yes.
Apparently. Right. Okay.
Yes.
But of course, the flaw with that, Dickie, is that you could say, I'm going to isolate. Then you say, oh, sorry, I'm just going to go out. I mean, it's not like you got an ankle tag.
No, but they call you, and you don't know when they're going to call. And
they call you.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
God.
And I just didn't want to pay the fine. So to be honest with you, the weather wasn't bad actually. So I just sat in the garden and chilled, and it was over before it. You know what I mean? It was over before it
Yeah,
began.
no,
So
I get
it
that. I
honestly
get
wasn't as bad as it wasn't so bad.
This is a lovely thing. I wonder if this is true. Back to Sinatra. This is from Paul Claridge.
Oh yeah,
Fun fact, which I hope is true.
yeah.
Sinatra played an impromptu gig at the Half Moon pub in Herne Hill in the 1950s. Apparently, he did it as a favour to his chauffeur.
What?
Yeah, I wonder if that's true or completely apocryphal. Don't know.
Wow.
Can you imagine if that was true? Ladies and gentlemen, that was Doreen, who runs the sweet shop. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Sinatra. Give him a big hand.
Sinatra. I mean, he definitely played Streatham.
Get out.
Yeah, he did for sure. He played Streatham. So maybe he did. I mean, there's a chance. Maybe he did. I mean, that would be mind blowing, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine?
I,
Just wandered in for have a quick drink. Oh, hello. That looks like. Oh, God, it's Frank Sinatra. I mean, that could just be.
I mean, I'm in
Isn't
East
it?
Dulwich right now, so Herne Hill
Right.
is just down the road.
Yeah.
I'm going to go past the pub. I'm going to go
The
and check
half.
that out.
Can you imagine if that was true? My dad saw
Mm.
Sinatra at what became the Finsbury Rainbow. I don't know what it
Oh
was
yeah.
called in those days, but when he was in the Bobby Sox era,
Mm.
my dad went to see him.
Oh really?
That must have been late. That must have been in the 40s. Yeah, that would make
I
sense.
guess.
Probably
Yeah,
the
that would
late
be right.
40s. Bobby
Mm.
Soxers and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long are you over for? By the way.
Here till end of August. So
Oh, excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
So I've got Crazy Cox tonight and on Sunday.
And Sunday tonight's sold out, isn't it?
Tonight's sold out.
And
Sunday
it's a
there are
matinee. It's a matinee 3 o'clock at the
yeah
Crazy
on
Cox.
Sunday. Yeah. And then I go up to Edinburgh to the Edinburgh Festival. If anybody's listening, come and see us. Who's going to the festival? It's just
Is
been
that
announced.
going? It's going
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah, I mean it's all
Well,
quite
that's
controlled. Um,
how's
there's
that
going
going
to
to
be
work?
social distancing for the seating. So we're in the EICC, which is the conference centre, and
Yeah, I
the
know.
capacity is 300. So I think that there'll be, 2 seats and then a gap, and then 2 seats and
Yeah,
then a gap.
yeah.
They'll be doing it that way. Um,
But everyone in
I,
Edinburgh it's such a convivial atmosphere, and you're cheek by joust. It could work in the interior, in the venues, but in the streets, how are they going to do that? Wow,
I
I'm
don't.
stunned.
That's a
Stunned.
good. It's a good question that, and I was asked if I wanted to do another show, a lunchtime show, which I declined because I thought I'm a little. I don't want to go. You see, a big tradition in Edinburgh, as you well know, is to flyer. You flyer your shows. You go
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
all day, every day. You're just giving out flyers, and I didn't fancy that. I didn't fancy just walking among, through the streets. I don't mind going to the venue, doing the show, and then leaving. But the idea of actually going to
No,
promote the show in the
I'm
streets is a
with you.
little, yeah,
I'm
not
with you. You
not
see, I
quite
wouldn't
there
do
yet.
it. I wouldn't
Mm,
do it. I would be far, far too nervous because you know the precautions you've taken. You have
yeah.
no idea. These are total random strangers.
Yes.
Who the
Yeah.
hell knows?
Yeah.
Who the hell knows? And also because it's quite a
Yeah.
youngish audience, and they may not have been so careful because they don't feel as mortal as, as you and I do. They're immortal at that point in their lives.
Well,
That's
this
it.
is it. And I was in the West End yesterday, and there were a lot of these young kids, maskless, and they were having a wonderful time. And I
Oh
thought,
yeah, sure.
yeah,
Sure. I
I'll
mean,
keep my mask on. Yeah.
I go to Soho every Saturday morning for my cigar and coffee,
Oh yeah.
and by 1 o'clock we are out of there because
Mm,
they open the streets up to all the tables and the umbrellas and everything. And it looks
mm,
wonderful, but there's
mm.
thousands hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people because the roads are closed. So by 1 o'clock, cheerio, bang, I'm gone. I'm off
Mm,
home.
yeah.
Always. So I totally agree with you. If people want to get tickets for Crazy Cox on Sunday, where do they just go on the website?
Yes. Yep, I've gone on the Crazy Cox website. So it's Crazy Cox, COQS, Brasserie
Yeah,
Zidell.
yeah.
Yeah, and the tickets are there on the website.
Wonderful. And
And
have they
wonderful.
have they have they taken some of the seats out within the venue? Is that how it's going to?
Yeah, so you've got so there's a table, and then there's a gap where there used to be or there's a table, but they're not selling the seats, and then there's another table. So they're being very they're being very well behaved about it. They're not
One of the
piling people on
things
top of people.
are you okay for time, by the way, just for a minute?
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, right, fine,
completely,
fine. One
absolutely.
of the things I'd love to ask you, because this has been a big theme on our shows with Phil and myself, is this: how, if they've got to limit the number of seats,
Yeah.
how does that economically? Because it all comes down to economics eventually. You know, they're there to make money. How does that work? If you've got a say 50% capacity, you can't double the ticket price because everybody's broke. So how I don't know how they're going to do this. I mean, I'm
It's a good.
thrilled you're on. I really am thrilled you're on. But long term, how they've got to recoup a year of nothingness. 18.
Yeah, it's a good question. Because you're right, they can't just double the prices.
No one's got any money.
No. I mean, for me, I'm working tonight, for example, I've got the whole band on, so not the whole band. I've got piano, bass, and drums. And
Right.
somebody was saying last night, but aren't you going to earn less money now? You've got to pay the band. And I said, yeah, I am going to earn less money because it's important to get. I want to get back to work. I
Of
want to get back to
course.
live performance, and it's a thrill to to be back in the saddle. But it's better for the audience. It's better for me. So I'll take the hit. I'll personally take the financial hit. Just to put on a good show because it matters. To me it matters a lot.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is, really, Russ. I
It's the
mean,
same because one of the guys that I had my coffee and cigars with is Ray Gelato. Ray Gelato
oh
of the
yeah,
Giants, and
fabulous. Yeah,
Ray's great, and
yeah,
he is tearing his hair out because
yeah.
the new deal is if you want to tour in Europe, it's £400 per musician per trip. Well, that's the Ray Gelato and the Giants is a 7-piece outfit, so that's seven
Wow.
times 400 per show. Who's going to pay that? Nobody.
No,
Promoter's not going to pay it.
no.
They can't add it on the ticket price because, as I said, universally everyone's broke. It's ridiculous. That's
You
got to
know,
stop.
and on top of that, you've got food,
Yeah,
accommodation,
of
you've got
course.
travel. I mean, no, that's crazy. That's just
It's nuts, and they're not helping. And this, people like yourself,
mm,
when it all comes down to it, that's your livelihood. That's what you,
mm,
apart from the fact you give us great joy, great entertainment.
mm.
I've seen your shows many times, and I love it.
Thank you.
It's not just that.
Mm,
That's how you make your living. You're not a
yeah,
fishmonger or a plumber. I don't understand. They just seem to have thrown entertainment under the bus, and that really hurts. Really hurts
yeah.
on so many levels.
Yeah, it's been it's been a little painful. I don't mind telling you,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I mean, I was going down the Strand yesterday on the bus, and there's a lot of shop fronts that are boarded up.
Oh,
I think, oh,
yeah.
this isn't looking good,
Isn't it depressing? Isn't
Mm.
that horrible?
But then I thought maybe, fingers crossed. There's going to be a return to the Roaring Twenties. Who knows what's going to happen next year and then the year after that. And I'm just hoping that
I
things are going
think,
to
Richard,
take off.
I've quoted that phrase myself, that it could
Mm,
be because there is such a pent up desire for the
mm,
general public to go, look, we're sick and tired of this shit. We've had this
yeah,
for a year and a half. For God's sake,
yeah,
we just want to have some fun. Just want
absolutely.
to have some fun. So there's a
Yeah.
huge appetite for entertainment,
Mm,
huge,
mm,
and it's just got to be kind of sorted out.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. Before you go,
Yeah.
I've got to talk about Emmerdale.
Oh, yes.
I've got to,
Yes.
because if you're sitting there, because obviously this is like radio and television simultaneously, bizarrely,
Yes.
with our little setup,
Yes.
and people going, why does he look? He looks familiar. Why does he look? But you were the doctor.
Emmerdale.
Am I
I was
the doctor?
I was Dr. Adam Forsyth. Yes, I was. I was the lovely country village doctor who turned into a psychopath. So that's
It's
soap for you.
yeah,
Mm,
it's typecasting. Diane Taylor says this.
yeah.
This is nice because often I think we feel sometimes we're just talking into an echo chamber. So I think you'll like this, Dickie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Richard streamed lots of performances during last year from his home in America.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so kind to have done that.
Thank you. Well, it's a great pleasure.
Isn't,
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm
isn't that a
glad you
lovely?
enjoyed them. Mm.
They were damn cool. And interesting, you were talking about Edinburgh. Veronica Curran who lives right in the heart of Edinburgh by pure
Oh, yeah.
chance. Our
Yeah.
numbers with COVID are bad. Edinburgh is so strange without the fringe, weird, as I live in the heart of Edinburgh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you think about it, they sell 3 million tickets. I knew nothing
Yes.
about the Edinburgh Fringe till I went there. And they sell 3 million tickets, and the population of Edinburgh goes from 500,000 to 1.5 million.
Wow.
You think about the shops, the hotels, the food, the bars, the hit they've taken is just in one small city is gigantic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be it's going to stumble a bit this year, I think, up there. It's going to be a little stop, start, stop, start. But it's wonderful that at least it's starting to happen again. I think this time next year it'll be a very different picture, very different scenario, I hope. But it's tragic, isn't it? I mean, last year I remember seeing a mate of mine, Nigel Miles Thomas, lives in Edinburgh, and he was posting pictures of the streets of Edinburgh, you know, last summer, and it was heartbreaking. It just
Awful.
you think, no, that should be teeming with people.
It should be
rammed.
shouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Listen, good luck just once again.
Thank
Richard
you.
is on at Crazy Cox, which is Piccadilly. It's part of Brasserie Zadel. If you've never been there, treat yourself. It's wonderful, by the way. I can totally recommend it. It's just wonderful, wonderful venue. Used to be the Atlantic Bar and Grill.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
When I had a life, we used to hang at the Atlantic Bar and Grill, but I think we've glossed that one over. All the very best. If my back is anywhere better, I will be there. If not, I have given my tickets to Mr. Ray Gelato, who was coming with, and he will be bringing. I'll give them to Ray because at the moment I'm having a little trouble walking. Never mind about going into Soho. I know. It's a bitch. Richard, thank you so much. It's so lovely to see you, man. You look great.
And you, Russ. Thank you very much.
And if we can get down to see if I can't do Crazy Cox, we will come. I'll come with Colin Vaines and the gang, and we'll come and see you at Wilton's because that sounds
marvelous.
Great.
Magic. Cheers, Russ. Feel better. I hope you feel better.
Thank you, fella. Bye-bye. He's such a lovely guy. A lovely guy.
I can hand on heart tell you that I don't actually think there's anywhere else in London than Crazy Cox that I love more. Seriously, no, it's just the most fantastic venue.
If you've never been, everyone, I'll tell you this. It's like, the thing about going out is you want to have a good experience. You want to think, that was really great. You know, I really enjoyed that. Crazy Cox, I've never seen a show there, and I haven't come out and thought, what a fabulous show. Even if people I'm not that familiar with and someone says, oh, you've got to come and see so-and-so. It's beautifully done. The staff are great. The place looks gorgeous. It's not crazy money. It's really smashing.
I mean, to me, there's only one other place I'd say that was more sensational than that. And unfortunately, it's gone now. And I think it was Café de Paris. But honestly, but other than that, Crazy Cox is... And it's actually, it's wrong to say Crazy Cox, actually, because it's the whole thing. It's not just the Crazy Cox. Yeah, you've got the Brasserie Zadel, you've got the Bar Americana, you've got literally the whole experience.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm wondering, and I don't know the full details, but Jamie Oliver, used to be Jamie's Kitchen, was right opposite, literally. It's a little pedestrian area.
Oh, yes.
And, that went bust. And now it's called something Hen and Cox. Hey, and I'm wondering if Brasserie Zadel have bought that as a part as a place. It could be because it's unlikely they have CO.
It doesn't look very much. I've been there recently, and it doesn't look like it's quite the same decor, but it may well be.
It's completely different decor, but they have zhuzhed it up a little bit since Jamie Oliver's rather overpriced event. I like Jamie Oliver. I'm not here to kick him because I think what he did was great. It just, as Gordon Ramsay says, if you're running a business, you have to concentrate on your core business, or you spread yourself too thin and standards drop. It's the same with everything. Phil, what's that venue? The venue that Phil was talking about, which bloody well closed because of pandemic, was Café de Paris, which was stunning. I'm hoping that somebody will come along and reopen it because inside...
I find it so hard to believe that someone won't.
What a gorgeous place inside. Café de Paris. Have you ever been to Coal Drops Yard? Yes, Linda.
I actually haven't been inside Coal Drops. I know exactly where it is. I know it's by Granary Square in King's Cross, so I have seen it, but I just haven't been there.
That's an amazing place. If you haven't been to King's Cross for like 20 years,
Oh, please
it's
go.
like
It's so
being,
different.
being like no crazy. Oh, Crazy Cox. Where is Crazy Cox? This is a question from
Oh,
Red
it's
Grossman.
Piccadilly
Right,
Circus.
Piccadilly
Piccadilly
Circus.
Circus.
Just off there. So if you come out of Piccadilly Tube, just literally walk round the corner. If you know where the I don't know what you use as markers. There's the Uggs.
Yeah, all right. Well, if you know where the Arc store is, it's just next to that. If you don't,
It's next to that.
then it's actually, if you imagine you're looking at the Piccadilly lights yourself, okay, you're standing underneath the Piccadilly signs that has Boots and Barclays and all of that malarkey, and Gap, well, not for much longer, but it's got Gap at the moment there, okay?
Oh, is that still there?
And then to the left, literally, you've got a corridor that's sort of down the side, like down what looks like an alleyway that leads to where
Yeah.
Whole Foods Market is. But you don't go as far as Whole Foods Market. And just on the right is a road that, for the life of me, I can't remember the name. But you turn down that road and you'll see it there. It's like the second place on the left. It's just fantastic. So by the Piccadilly lights, to the left is a little alleyway, or sort of, I say a little alleyway. It's not quite a little alleyway. It's a road. It's a small road.
Big.
Go down that, and then on the right is a turning. It's down there, second on the left. It's just fantastic.
It's between. All right, Ed. It's between.
All right, Ed.
I'll tell
For
you what,
goodness sake,
between
Phil, I only need the name.
Piccadilly
You might
Circus.
only need the name, but funnily enough, there are other people who might be interested.
Do you know that Ed Grossman? You know that Ed Grossman. What the hell? I can say it. I'm drugged off my face. Now, I'll tell you what. It's between Piccadilly Circus and, if you know the Ham Yard Hotel, centre of my universe, it's there. There we go. Penny Horner.
Of course it is. There you go. Penny's come up with the right summary.
Crazy
and I'm hoping you're okay.
But yeah, Pen, we're sending our love to you. Phil and I send our love to you. Crazy Cox opposite the Piccadilly Theatre. Correct. That's very nice. Where
that's a better way of putting it.
With Pretty Woman was going to be on. I don't think it ever opened, did it? Pretty Woman.
Did it not?
I'm not sure it ever opened.
I know that was the Piccadilly was where they had the curious incident of the dog in the night time, and that was fabulous. That was terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. Sorry, terrific show.
Anyway, look, Ed, you're a man of the world. Trust me, you'll find it. You won't have a problem. I'm looking for something and I can't blooming find it. So I'm going around the bend. Right, carry on. It's gone. What the hell? Okay. And Richard just sent a nice email. Not there now. Moved to Savoy Theatre. Oh, right. So Pretty Woman's moved to the Savoy Theatre. It's almost like Penny Horner is in the theatre business. Almost like, unbelievable. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought?
There you go. Not there now. It's moved to Savoy Theatre.
That's correct. Okay. So Pretty Woman, which I'm not huge on musicals. I love seeing stuff like Dickie Shelton because I'm a Sinatra nut, but musicals.
It's funny actually because when we were in New York, my family and I were in New York a couple of years ago before all of this nonsense began, and I was trying to determine sort of what show we should go and see on Broadway. Now, the ones that I wanted to go and see were not quite what the rest of my family would appreciate. And I did look into Pretty Woman because I thought that maybe that would be more up their street. And then I saw the ticket prices and I thought,
I bet they're mental.
If this is rubbish, I'm not paying that just in case.
Yeah,
so in the end, we went.
What did you go and see?
So in
Hamilton,
the end, we went.
$3,000
Definitely not go and see Hamilton. Thank you very much indeed. And in the end, we went to go and see Frozen the musical. I was outvoted.
Holy God!
I know. I think I would have preferred Pretty Woman.
Holy God! Are you kidding? I would have rather actually just hammered a masonry nail into my skull.
Do you know what? I've got to be honest though.
Did you enjoy it?
It actually wasn't that bad because I had such low expectations, but they'd done quite a good job of it.
Your expectation was if I don't fall into a coma, it's a plus. Penny Horner, very sweetly, thanks, Pen. How's the back? Effing awful. It's just so bad. I have to get through this show. I had an hour's Zoom on another project, and to get this, I'm on these wretched opioids, which is so ironic because on the ABC of CBD, Ollie Mammon and I talk about the opioid crisis and the epidemic, and it's the one thing I try and avoid. But when the back goes following the car crash, it's the only thing you have to get on top of the pain. And as much as I hate them and I hate the side effects, which are huge. Just has to be done. There we are. I want to do the show, and that's all there is. I don't want to leave.
By the way, we should also point out as well that you may see if either Russ or I disappear during this program, don't worry. For once, it might not be internet connection related. We do actually have an agreement today that based on the fact that I've been working, as I've mentioned before on this, I'm not after sympathy. I'm just stating a fact that I've been working.
No one cares.
No, I know. I don't care either.
No
been working since 4 o'clock this morning, which is fine, but it's possible that I might have to work until 5 o'clock this afternoon. So in a bid to try and help limit the amount of time I actually do spend working, I've agreed with Russ that I might disappear during when the guests are on and go and do some work. But then Russ has also got an agreement with me that if his back gets too bad, he's also going to go and take 5. So don't worry if either of us disappear. There is actually a motive behind it.
Fun. Bless you for asking, Penny. Andrea says, what have you done? Oh, well, very, very briefly, because I want to bang on about it. 23 years ago, I got T-boned in a car crash at the police record between 50 and 60 miles an hour. So somebody came into the side of my car, split my car in two, my little Honda, and it permanently realigned my hips, nothing they can do, and fused some of my spine, and I had to learn to walk again. And every now and then it flares up. And it's not as a result of anything. And I do personal training twice a week. I walk the dog every day. It's been great. And then suddenly it starts to get a bit twitchy. And I go, oh, God, here we go. And boom, and then it just goes and I can't walk. So it's just, Glassy Amanda, why is Phil wearing gloves? Well, he has committed a few murders this morning and then he robbed a bank.
It's very important not to leave fingerprints wherever you go.
I bought him a book for last Christmas, which was Burglary for Dummies, and chapter 1 was Wear Gloves. I think he's taken it a bit too hard.
Oh, you should have seen how much Russ paid for it, though. He was robbed. Anyway, the point is...
Phil wears gloves for hygiene. I totally get it. And not just any old gloves. Phil's very smart about this. He has cotton gloves, which he washes, and he prefers the cotton to the...
Well, it's just the problem is, I mean, no, I know, but I'll be honest with you. The problem is that when you see those disposable gloves, they really stick in my craw, because how many years have we heard from people who hug trees for a living that we've got to look after the planet, stop using single-use plastics, all of that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't, to some degree, have an issue with all of that. Okay, I'll be honest, actually, I can see the sense in some of it. I don't see a point of single-use plastic that's going to end up in landfill and just live there for about 200 years.
It's horrible. It shouldn't do it.
But how ironic that we end up in a situation where suddenly we have to use everything that is disposable just for the sake of hygiene to get us through this pandemic. So I didn't personally see the point of that. So as far as I was concerned, is I decided to buy a load of these cotton gloves.
They're very good.
Change them like I change socks. They go into a boiling wash.
Once a month.
Absolutely. They go into a boiling wash at the end of the week. And so, honestly, I think it's just as effective. I don't leave fingerprints anywhere, and it's all fine. I'm sure there'll be someone out there who tells me they're nowhere near as effective as the disposable ones. But frankly, I think it's a happy medium. So there you go. That's why, Glassy.
It is.
My mother's quite concerned, and I think quite rightly so. She says... what if you both have to go together and there's no one to present the show?
You'll do it. You'll just say it'll be the Linda Dave show, and she will discuss her new grandson for an hour.
Good thinking. Good. You see, this is why.
This is why I get the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Glassy Amanda says, I'm going to buy some when I shop. It's a bloody good idea, isn't it, getting cotton gloves? That's a good idea.
It's just because I don't like the risk of it.
Andrea Lucas has changed her name to Penny. And, we've already got a show. Glassy Amanda says, I'll co-host. So we've got Linda Dave and Glassy Amanda with their show.
I love it. The Daily Show. I love it. I was going to say, I love it. You got the Daily Show with Glassy and Arcee.
You're brave. You're brave because you're not there. Penny, is Cox the same place as Adele? Yes, Ed. Yes, it is the same place. It's exactly the same venue. You got the American bar, right? The American bar. It's all part of the same place. So it's lovely. Veronica Curran, here we go. Would you like to read this out?
Short-term use of painkillers is different, but have you taken paracetamol with tramadol? It's meant to help. Russ, I was in a bike accident in Greece. I take a low dose amitriptyline daily swear. Oh, I see.
She swears
Amitriptyline
it's so
daily.
much
So
kinder than
swear
tramadol.
it's so much kinder than tramadol. Russ,
Yeah.
get your vape. Yes. Okay. Do you know
Well,
what, Veronica? Can I just sort of point out? I don't want to dismiss what you've just said, but please, for heaven's sakes, to anyone watching, do please follow doctor's advice. I'm not suggesting for a second that Veronica doesn't know what she's talking about, but just always follow the advice of the professionals.
Here's
I'm
the
really
thing.
sorry.
On the last episode, they put me on tramadol. And I've talked about this a lot, especially on the ABC of CBD. And it says not to be taken for more than 3 days because they're addictive. And I was hooked. I've been very open about it. Awful. I was flying. And it's not a moral thing. I'm not on a soapbox. I've never done drugs. I don't do drugs. It's just not my thing. You know, I'm not prescribing what people should or should not do. It's just not me. I've never done drugs at all. It's because I'm a control freak and I want to be in control of what I'm doing, of myself. And tramadol, Jesus, it was horrendous. Yeah, was I away with it? I was flying. I mean, I was blooming flying. And I knew I was hooked because then I started to take them when I didn't need them. And I thought, no. And after very few days, I stopped. So when this thing blew up and I was talking to my GP on the phone, I said, I do not want to go back on tramadol. Give me the next level down because tramadol, holy God. And I said this once on the ABC of CBD, and some people said, oh, I've been on tramadol for months. Months? I didn't make days. I mean, it is that strong.
Sadly, I know people who have been on tramadol for a long time as well. This is widely known they are a very dangerous drug, but never mind. Anyway, right, if we have a catch up here with some of this. Oh, my mother, by the way, has said, Russ, I ordered some cushions through Amazon. I'm gonna send you the link to this, by the way, because actually they are very good. She said, I ordered some cushions through Amazon by a company called Everlasting Comfort. I'm sure other cushion companies are available. As you know, I've got chronic arthritis, and instead of sitting on metal, I'm sitting on cotton wool. They have changed my life and I take them everywhere. And I can vouch for the truth in that statement. My mother does indeed take these cushions everywhere, and they are very, very good. It's actually the only time I actually sort of see her sitting down, she doesn't look like she's in any pain.
Wow. Linda, send me the link, please. That would
she won't have a clue how to do it. I'll do that for you later. But anyway.
Linda, make me some cake.
She doesn't know how to do that either. I'm only
Linda,
kidding.
just send me some cash. She can do that, for God's sake. She's got an envelope and a stamp. That'll be great. That'll be Andrea Lucas, which is why I suggested that I don't want a suppository. Thank you.
He's not that stuck up.
What? Linda, Dave, Jesus Christ, your mother, she's like the
Look,
Rum Diaries.
If she wants
like
to admit it.
Jesus, she's like the Hunter-S Thompson of Hertfordshire. I take tramadol,
amitriptyline,
and naxopren every
and naproxen.
day. Linda, how are you even breathing? My God.
Look,
wow.
The problem is that.
Bless you, Linda. I had no idea you were taking that. Jesus.
The problem is, of course, that this is a real horrible twist of tramadol, which is quite widely known, that because it is so addictive, that the brain learns at the time when you take that medication or when you take that drug. So like all addicts, unfortunately, it sometimes creates phantom sensation in order to encourage the taking of said medication. That is widely documented. It's widely known. The doctors, for some ridiculous reason, don't admit it. And it's
true. You're absolutely right, Phil. You're absolutely right.
And it is very disturbing to know that. But anyway, what can I say? It
creates an imaginary need because your body is craving that. I've never had that before, and thank God I've never had it since. It's the only time I took stuff because I knew I was hooked on it. It was shocking. Lasted a few days. Sinatra. Well, that's not much of a name of a title for an album, is it? The very best of Sinatra's suppositories, live from Las Vegas. Sam Monroe says he's like that. Sam Monroe, actor, playwright, and everything else, he says he's like that without tramadol. I know, I've met you. I think we'll just put Rohypnol in his drink. When you and I, we'll have a drink with Sen in the near future. Right, just like maybe the three of us or something, and we'll just put some Rohypnol That'll shut him up. And he'll have a good night.
Yeah, my mother's also saying how she also has to have steroid injections every 3 months as well.
Oh my! Now
but-
here's the thing. When the last episode came, and we were talking about it when it was, or maybe 10 years ago, at least 10, and it was horrific because it turned into sciatica. It was a name I knew. I had no idea what it was. I wanted to die. I've never known agony like it. At one point, I lay on the floor. I couldn't move for 24 hours. I actually couldn't move. Couldn't even crawl to the bathroom. It's horrendous. And they said, right, what we're going to do to alleviate the pain is give you a steroid injection in your spine. I went, anything. I didn't care if you put a gun in my mouth at this point. I really didn't. So I literally crawled. And when I say crawled, I'm not kidding you. I had to hold on to the wall, and it was awful. And they do a check and they mark where they're going to do it. And then you have to sign your life away. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm signing all this stuff. And it's like, well, if you don't sign, we don't do the injection. I was in such agony. I said, okay, so I signed it. They gave me the injection. They said there might be some side effects. I still have the side effects to this day. To this very day, 10 years later. It took away, it cured it. Would I have done the deal? Yeah, I would have done the deal because I couldn't take the pain for another hour. But the side effects are weird as hell. You know,
Chrissy Holt is not being terribly delicate at the prospect of steroid injections, where she says, that's not good. Make you fat, don't they, Linda? Chrissy,
you're not making any friends today, I'll tell you that.
Chrissy, let's put it this way. It is true that if you are not careful with one's diet, then steroids can make you lose track of what you eat and how hungry you actually are. But anyway, and Veronica Curran says tramadol can give you a major leg twitch. Now that's very interesting.
Yes.
I have been on A to Z of opioids, but totally refused tramadol.
Well done, Veronica.
Very sensible.
Now, Andrea, this is interesting. She said, I've had deep guided injections into my back. And no, Chrissy, we're just kidding. Don't worry about it. I'm sure that Mrs. Dave is fine, except she's on a plane now to Spain to punch her in the face. I've had deep guided injections into my back with no after effects. You're like, the after effects I got is I have no feeling in my. I often have no feelings in my legs. It's the weirdest thing, and I can't feel my feet.
Goodness me.
There you go. Doesn't matter. I'm fine. Just what it is. You get on. It's not the cards you're dealt. It's how you deal with the cards, and that's all there is to it. By the way,
it's breaking out now.
Oh, here we go.
My mother. I used to like you, Chrissy. I'd rather be fat, although I'm not, than have pain.
It's all kicked off, Phil. Phil, it's kicked off now. You know what it's like. This will run for months. This will run from. Hang on. Sen, who I forgot where Sen lives. I know he's told me 1,000 times, but my brain is like a pizza. Hailstones. Oh my God, you got hailstones.
Glassy, you're not helping.
Yeah, no, Glassy. I'm with Glassy Amanda. Fight. You, car park, now. It'd be absolutely bloody marvellous. Your mum versus Chrissy Holt. I don't know. Depends. If your mum takes one of your hollows out the freezer and just decks her with it, your mum could finish this in about 7 seconds. Anyway. You see, this is the way my mind works. She goes to the freezer, takes out a hollow. Hey, Chrissy, what? Bang! Done. Gets on the next plane back from Spain, and she's okay.
That's using your loaf.
What?
As long as you're not brown bread.
Oh, this is very, very good.
See, honest.
How many more bread gags can we fit in? Holla Mafia.
Let's try and work it out before we're toast. dear. Anyway,
it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's that hailstones. Oh, the football player. Very good, Ed. You mean hailstones, the football player? That's great, isn't it? I've got a tricky situation.
Oh my! It really is kicking off. This I'm actually getting a bit uncomfortable with this now. Chrissy is saying, "I'd like to see her try. My Kiki, I really hope that's the name of the dog, would go for her and lick her all over."
Please God, it's the name of her dog, because
Yeah, I
otherwise
know.
that's a very
That's a
awkward
very
visual
sorry
image.
sight.
That's a very awkward visual image I'm suddenly got in
Oh
my
my
head.
goodness me! We are honoured. We are in the presence of one of the finest hospitality and leisure commentators there is out there, because Elton Mooner has chimed in on this, and he says, "When I had my hip
I
replacement
love this
operation."
name. What a name that is. That is the coolest name.
And Elton, can I just say, you hide it well, sir. I had no idea that you'd even been through this. When I had my hip operation, he says, I was given
Opioids.
opioids. They made me so mellow and chilled that that when the pain naturally stopped, I convinced the doctors I should have more opioids. Oh my goodness me! I realised
Oh,
where this could
yes.
lead and had the good sense to safely destroy them. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that,
Well
Elton. Good
done.
grief! Wow.
Well done.
There you go.
I'm
Crumbs.
Elton, I'm not familiar with you, but I can see that Phil is very impressed. So you're obviously a man of some caliber.
Oh yes, we like Elton.
Okay.
Absolutely
I like
absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he's one of my finest contributors on one of the other programs I produce.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we like the cool name, cool guy. It's interesting. It's so what you've just said there, Elton, is exactly what happens. You think, oh, I feel pretty good. I'll keep doing this stuff, and it's a slippery slope. It really, really. It's why drugs scare the hell out of me, because you just don't
Anyway,
want to go.
shall we
That's
move
just
on?
me.
Because waiting very patiently in the green room, as she has been for about the last 10 minutes,
I
by the
bet
way.
she looks a wreck. I bet she looks a mess. She's always so scruffy woman. This woman is
Our next guest
scruffy
is
as
without
hell.
doubt the epitome
She's
of
in
glamour.
I bet she's in a polyurethane tracksuit.
Oh, shut it, Kane. Anyway, she's sitting very patiently in the
Wearing
digital green room, looking
oh,
as if she's about to add some real class to this show. Thank goodness for
thank
that. It's
God
about
for
time,
that.
I might add as well.
Christ Almighty.
I'll allow you to introduce your friend, RK.
I'll leave it to you because I'm just getting a twitch. Just do the introduction. I'll jump straight in.
Elisa
There she
Reagan.
is. There she
Born
is. Elisa Reagan.
Elisa, it's so good of you to tolerate this nonsense. It's very nice of you to join us as well. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, we just did. You said, I want to give Russ and Phil £100 cash each. Unbelievable. That was, oh, thank you, darling. That's so sweet of you. That's very, very kind. I wanted you on the show for a number of reasons. One is because I know that you would have the most perfect hair of any guest.
Oh, please don't say that. It's a wreck today.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you, Phil? What did I tell you? She didn't care.
That is your idea.
Backwards.
If that's your idea of a wreck,
yeah, can you imagine?
Please God,
It's
by
a
me anyway.
It's a bad
Yes.
day.
Now yes, Linda, you've hit the nail on the head. Elisa is, of course, Janet's daughter of the legendary Janet Rager. What more can we say? Thank you very much for joining us. The thing I love about your Facebook posts, joking aside, is that I always look like I don't know what the hell I look like, right? And I don't care anymore. And you always look bloody perfection. It doesn't matter. It goes, oh, it's raining, and there you are, and it's pouring, and you look great. Or I'm just going to the shops. It's ridiculous.
It makes you feel
It's ridiculous.
I was drenched yesterday.
Did you? Oh God! Did you got soaked? And did your hair just go?
Yeah, and then
Does it just go?
It goes, and then it just frizzes out.
Ah, you get the frizz.
I get the frizz.
Because every woman is now watching this. The guys aren't that fussed, but every woman, and we're 50% with our audience is female. They're going, does her hair just go, or then do we get the frizz?
It's the frizz. But
you look like a sort of early version of Michael Jackson.
I can't count how frizzy my hair goes. Seriously, it's terrible.
I know. It's like you are Michael Jackson. If you look at the album covers, the early Jackson 5, and look at all of them, with the fro, that is Phil. If he walks past the fountain, even has a glass of water and spills some. Right, yes. So, Tell us all about yourself, because I wanted to drag you onto the show, kicking and
That's a big
screaming, and I know you were
question.
worried.
And how long have you got?
I'm in no rush.
You're in no rush. It's like, it's like a life story. It's work in progress, and we have to
Okay.
keep changing and keep moving and doing stuff, and then life happens and you have to do some more stuff.
Yeah, but your main, so you grew up obviously under the on enormous sort of amazing umbrella of the Janet Rager brand, which was just legendary. And tell us a bit that people don't know it. There might be people who don't know it, so talk
You
us
see,
through that as well.
people often say to me, "Oh, what was it like growing up?" But I have no benchmark. That's how I grew up, and I didn't grow up any other way, so I can't compare it to somebody who grew up whose parents were teachers or musicians, or do you know what I mean? My parents
Well, it's
were
interesting you
very
say
hard
that, Elisa.
working.
It's interesting you say that, because we had Ronnie Corbett's daughter on the show on what's the day? Friday, Wednesday. We had Sophie Corbett on Wednesday, and it's very, I'm always fascinated by. I'm going to do a series on it actually, about people who grew up with crazily famous mums or dads. What it's like for them. Are you always in their shadow? What is it like?
Um, Certainly when I was at school, there was a lot of publicity. There would be gorgeous, beautiful women in underwear, and they would go, "Cool, that's Rega's mum," and I was like, "No, it's not my mum. It's a model." So,
Oh, I've
and
misunderstood all these years. No, I'm kidding.
at school, boys of, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 can be very harsh. So it wasn't. I didn't always have the easiest of times at school.
Hmm.
And at that time, the underwear business or lingerie or anything, like was bras, it was snigger, it was very rude. So,
I'm still like that, by the way. Just want
I,
you to know, you've met me. I am still like that. It's the only reason I wanted you on. I could have somebody say the word bra. That was it.
the boys, certain boys really did give me a hard time. But I've as we grow up, we learn a lot along the way, and I have learned what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Do you
And
believe that?
to a degree, yes.
I don't believe that at all. It's Nietzsche, isn't it? It's Nietzsche who said that which does not kill you makes you strong. And
Well,
I
I
think
think
it beats the crap out of you personally, but there we
every
go.
hurdle we overcome, that when we have something we have to do, is like, "Oh shit, how am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Are
you
we
can
allowed
say what you want.
to do this? How are we
Yeah,
going to?"
yeah.
And it seems insurmountable, and it seems so difficult. But when you've done it, you've done it. I did that.
Yeah.
Whatever the challenge is, be it a sporting challenge, a personal challenge, a business challenge, whatever that challenge is, or even challenging times. And we've all come through some challenging times recently.
Just a bit. You see, we've had Dickie Shelton was our first guest, who's on at Crazy Cox tonight and on Sun. If you've never seen his show, by the way, you'd love it. And he's in the entertainment business, and obviously been cooling his heels for a year and a half because you're stuck in LA. There's nothing you can do. How have you got through this horrible 18 months of ghastliness?
For me, it's been a matter of discipline, self-discipline.
Hmm.
Do stuff, get up in the morning, exercise. For me, it's been about routine. We cook, especially when we were in lockdown, we cooked, we cleaned, we worked, not necessarily in that order. We exercised, we walked. I do a lot of things that I've learned a lot of tools. And I find there are times when I need to use them more, be it a meditation, a visualization, gratitude list. These are all little things. There's not one thing you can say to someone, do a gratitude list, you'll be so much happier. No. But all the little things that add up.
I'm going to stop you there, because we know what meditation is, and we've had experts on, and I can totally get that. Gratitude list, I get that. You write down what you're going to be grateful for. I have a notion of visualization, but I don't want to say what it is at this point. What does that mean?
I think it means whatever it means for you. So you can take a perfect place, or take a place that you have been very happy in.
Oh, I see.
Be that, you know, a house in the south of France, be it a lonely beach, be it a mountaintop, wherever that place is for you, and visualize yourself there, or visualize yourself in the sunlight, or even go into the sunlight. You know, for different people, it's different things.
Are you saying, and I'm being serious now, it's like when people say, well, I want to go into my happy place in my head. Is that what you mean? I thought you meant by visualization something quite different.
Well,
yeah.
Are different versions, and yes, you can go to your happy place, but you can also visualize what you want something to be. So visualizing, say, a future, visualizing a version of how you want that future to be. You know, it's your head. You can do what you want.
Do you believe, because you're very successful, I visualize stuff because I think if you picture it, it makes it easier somehow to attain, because you've got to be focused, you've got to be driven. It's not easy. But if you don't know ultimately what you expect that to look like, I don't know how you're supposed to aim for it. You know, you've got to have a vision. So that's, for me, is visualization. Like with everything that I try to do, I've got an end goal in mind.
You can see it in your mind's eye, and you can see it happening. You know, as they say, see it, feel it, touch it.
Suddenly you're Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey. What's going on there?
Well,
don't know what's happening. It's but I think it's true. You know, I think that's true. Where did you find the? I'm going to say strength. Let's use the word discipline instead of strength. I think strength's a bit Californian for me. The discipline during lockdown, because a lot of people, let's be absolutely honest, when it all kicked off, lockdown 1, the musical, no, lockdown 1, right?
Well,
I mean, and people said, right, I'm going to learn Italian, or I'm going to do that. And I got to the stage, well, if I could just get myself dressed, you know, well done, Russie. We've scored a major triumph. You know, a lot of people felt very intimidated by all these idiots on, you know, social media. I'm going to learn to crochet, and I'm going to, you know, whatever it is. And everyone else felt very inadequate. I think it put an undue pressure on people, because just getting through life day by day, that's enough of a challenge. That's a big challenge.
every day.
Every day is a challenge. I see. I think that. I wasn't with these people who were posting.
And every day brings its challenges. And if it's not today, then it's tomorrow. And if it's not tomorrow, will it be next week?
Yeah, sure. But where did you? So my question really was, where did you find this discipline?
I'm quite a disciplined human being by nature. If it gives you, I mean, I know we're not allowed to say this, but I'm half German, and I'm quite Germanic in my being. You know, the idea of
if there's any Polish listeners, lock your doors, because this could go very bad. Okay, so go on.
So I am quite disciplined by nature, and again, you know, I've worked all my life, and when you are in a working environment, you have to do things. You know, you have to return calls, you have to make things happen, you have to pay the bills. You know, there are some to do. This must be done. There are to-do lists, and I think we just approached it in a very pragmatic, we have got to get through this as best we can. So we tried to make it fun as well, you know. So every Friday we would cook something we've never cooked before. You know, with my husband and I, are very good cook. So every Friday, one of us would cook something we haven't made before. We would try and be very, you know, dinner was a big thing. We did away with lunch altogether. We didn't have lunch. We had a really nice dinner every evening. Dinner was like the focal point of the day. We went for walks. And I was working through lockdown as well. I was putting a whole new collection together. So it was the first time in my life I've worked with a team I've never met. I'd made a collection without so much as touching a piece of fabric or seeing it. It was all on Zoom and well, Microsoft Meet. So that was quite a challenge as well. And I just think every day, you know, I love that Elizabeth Taylor quote. You get up and you put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going.
Yeah, well, that's the truth, isn't it? That's the truth. I think we're much too hard on ourselves. I mean, I'm a realist. Although I'm a dreamer, but I'm a realist, and I think we're too hard.
We tried to make it fun, and we had, you know, again, I know this is probably slightly not as PC as it should be, but we had days where we talked in different accents. One day we'd have a Russian day, we'd have a French day.
See, I thought you were eminently sensible. Now I see you're just as crazy as the rest of us. Marvellous. That's marvellous. You didn't end up talking to your mini schnauzer endlessly and expecting answers. That was the thing. Paul Claridge has just asked me a question, Lisa. It says, Russ, what date have you set to achieve your goal of getting yourself dressed? I'm thinking 2023 spring. I don't want to rush it.
We didn't do a lot of dressing.
No, I'm taking it one sock at a time. I'm in the
Today.
Say again?
I put a shirt on for you today.
Bit disappointing, really. No, I'm kidding. So tell us about your new collection. That we love this show. You always look like a fashion plate. It's true. I'm not just saying it. You really do. Tell us about this new. Well, you're in the business, so isn't that interesting? I remember I was at a do. There was a chain of shops, which was the woman's name was the name of the chain of shops. I'm being very careful here. And I was introduced to her at a charity dinner. And I thought, you're the worst. You're the please don't say the name. And I thought, you are the worst. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a huge chain of very successful shops. And the woman's name was the name of the shops. And when I was introduced, I thought, oh my God, you're the worst example. You're the worst advert for your shop. I was just amazed. I thought they would have made an effort. It's just me. What I'm saying is you're the brand, so you have to look the brand. Isn't that true?
I try not to walk around in my bra.
Well, that's why we were disappointed, to be honest with you. I think that was the whole point. That's why we dragged you on. So what is this new collection? What's it all about?
Well, it's a new collection. It's going to be a completely new look for the Janet Rager brand. We're going quite young. We're going quite unstructured. It's new. It's something we've never done before. There's a whole new sizing. I want to say a sizing program, but I'm not quite sure of the wording. There's this new sizing approach. So it's not the sort of the traditional 32 A, B, C, D, letters of the alphabet. It's a whole new sizing approach with a very beautiful, feminine, but much more casual. So I'm very excited. It should be launching around.
What made you want? And I'm curious because I like looking at overall trends and how it affects our well-being, etc. So, what was the impetus to do this? What was your thinking?
Well, you see, interesting enough, underwear sales have gone up during lockdown. Both
really,
absolutely, both the comfy sort and the crop top and the sort of things that are very stretchy and comfortable and size non-specific, so it can grow with you along with the trips to the fridge. It's all good, and also more sexier, elaborate, gorgeous bedroom.
Yeah, you got my attention now. Yeah, the casual stuff. Now you got my attention.
Because people have spent a lot of time at home and they've had to entertain themselves, and there is only.
It's interesting. See, the other side of the coin to that is from New York, live from New York City, watching and listening to the show is Elizabeth Green. Hi, Elizabeth, and she goes. And she says to you, darling, unstructured, haven't worn a bra since the pandemic began.
Tut tut.
Well, what would you say?
Get a bra,
what
girl,
would you say to Elizabeth Green in New York City?
I'm a bit of a bra Nazi, because to me, you don't leave the house. You can wear a soft bra, you can wear a crop top, but you don't leave the house without a bra.
Did you hear that, Elizabeth? You heard it from the Queen of
Not
Bras.
good for business. It's not good for business.
No, obviously it's terrible for business. But, you know, maybe Elizabeth isn't your target. Chrissy Holt. Oh, she's in Spain. This is a very international show. So we go dashing from New York City to Spain. I never wear one. Chrissy, honestly, you know, we need to have a word. Only when I go shopping.
Where's she
Again.
shopping?
Well, she's shopping somewhere in Spain. She lives on a farm. I've seen the photos. And when I say the middle of nowhere, it's not like, oh, she's in Marbella or, you know, Cadiz or no, that.
Then wouldn't she?
Say that again?
She'd be wearing a swimming costume or a bikini if she was in Marbella.
She would be, obviously. But she's, oh, hang on. Elizabeth Green, obviously not wanting to be put down, quite rightly, from New York says, oh, I bought some beautiful ones. They're in the drawer. Ed Grossman doesn't believe you. He wants to see photos. Ed, you're a perv. Stop it. Now, it's very interesting. And where do you sell all your products? Because I'm just fascinated with the whole nature of how things changed. Let's go back, take a step back, if you don't mind. This is the first collection. And what I'm about to say applies not just to you, it applies to every business. It applies to what Dickie Shelton does as Sinatra and entertaining, describes what we do on the radio. This is the first collection you've said you didn't meet the people, you had to do it on Zoom. You weren't able to touch the fabrics, you had to do all that remotely. Did you find that a huge hurdle? Did you think, you know what, this isn't so bad? I'm curious.
It was a hurdle and a challenge at the time.
Mm.
And once we'd done it, it was like, this is not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Zoom call this morning. For me, it's changed completely because people say, well, let's have a meeting. I go, no, I'll Zoom because I don't want to spend an hour traveling in and dick around and then an hour coming back. That's 2 hours out of my day. Let's just sit, get everything done on the Zoom. It's fine. Unless it's something very important, I've got to see the whites of their eyes. If it's a really important meeting and I've got to see them face to face, I would do that. But 98% of the stuff can be done on Zoom or a phone call.
You see, I like to meet people. I do like a meeting. As you say, the whites of their eyes, sit down, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee with them, have a chat. Whereas with your Zoom, you go straight into it.
Well, that's the point. You see, the difference is, and this is about mental health as well. You have a meeting and it's like, you know what it's like. Hi, Lisa, how was the traffic? How was your journey? Would you like a coffee? Would you like to? Right. That's the first 15 minutes of most meetings are nonsense.
Yeah.
I like to, if I'm having, I said another thing I won't do is have business lunches. I'd love to have lunch. If I'm having lunch, I just want to have lunch. But I don't want to have a business lunch because you're concerned about the business. You can't enjoy the lunch. I like to keep them very distinct. I don't find they work at all, especially if people start drinking and you think they're not going to remember this in the least. They're not going to remember why we were here. So it's a waste of time.
They might remember they had a nice lunch with you.
Yeah, but they won't. Yeah, I don't think it progresses. I don't think it progresses stuff. Now, Glassy Amanda, who's in the psychotherapy community, goes, never thought I'd say this, but I'm happy to do Zoom forever now. And Glassy, I got to say, I'm with her on that. I'm with her on that. You know, we're in the middle of we're doing for some reason I've got roped in on doing a film, and we had a complicated meeting today, and it was just as fine because there was 7 people on the Zoom first thing this morning. It was fine. It was good, you know.
No,
but difficult if you've got to feel the material. I wouldn't want to do something that you're doing remotely all the time.
Well, again, my team, the people that I work, they're in Hong Kong.
Right.
So it was a little bit difficult to get there right now.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm sent a box of things. We meet on Zoom. You know, it's working now. We found a way through, and that's how we work. And when
are you going to launch it? When's this going to be launched?
January.
Wow. Oh, not what, January 22?
This January,
Yeah,
we
January
have
22.
in the meantime launched an interim collection, which was just sort of a little tester because we were working with a new company. And that's worked really well, and that's sort of in the UK market with Anne Summers Next Online and the Kaleidoscope Group. But this will be a much bigger launch. This will be not just in the UK. It will be across Europe.
Here's something weird you wouldn't know. The biggest writing job I used to have regularly, and it was before laptops and everything. I used to write the Kaleidoscope catalogs. I used to write them word for word, and you had to do it to the exact number of characters for each item.
Wow.
So when I did the Christmas catalog, I'd write the Christmas catalog in June and July. And what I would do is I'd draw all the curtains, put candles on, put sweaters around the room, and I'd get into the whole Christmas vibe, because it would take me a long, long time, days and days and days and days to write this. And then eventually, after days, I'd open the curtains and expect to see snow. And of course, it was July. It was weird but I had to get into the zone to do that. It was before, obviously, the internet. And has the internet been?
Imagine life before the internet. Imagine how it would have been for lockdown without having the internet.
I don't know. I think
it would have been.
I know. It's interesting. I would tell you this as an aside, with your point about that. If you're trying to make a film or a proper film, because of the huge desire of people to have content on Netflix and Amazon, you cannot get any crews, anybody. Everything's booked up, because what the lockdown has done is forced people towards Amazon and Netflix. And there's such a huge thirst for material. They've never been busier. Never, ever been busier. It's quite extraordinary how the cards have jumped. Has your business completely been revolutionized by the internet?
Yes.
Okay.
Next question.
No. It's interesting, because
I think
it's a mental attitude. People always said, "Oh, I'm not going to buy clothes because I like to feel the material and see how they look." And I think people have completely gone through that now. I think they're through the other side. They'll buy anything on the internet. If they don't like it, send it back.
Exactly. What happens now is people buy 2 or 3 and then send what doesn't fit. They'll buy 2 or 3 sizes or 2 or 3 options. Or, I know, we'll buy both of them, and if you don't like one, you'll send it back. So there is, already there's going to be about a 29-30% of things that are being bought just as an alternative, rather than I want that as well.
And I've always wanted to ask, what happens when the stuff comes back? Is it cleaned? Is it repackaged? Am I allowed to ask that? You don't know.
I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Is that a terrible answer? I don't know.
No, it's not. It's an honest answer. All our guests are honest. If they're not, I tell you, we've got our audience is like a family now. It's like a family. And if somebody comes on who isn't honest, they're like, boom, they're like a shoal of piranhas. They see right through it like that. They don't take any nonsenses at all. This is interesting. Elizabeth Green in New York says lunch. Going back to my point about lunch, says lunch should never be lunch. Must have an agenda. Not if I'm meeting pals, but if it's people I don't know, I won't go to a meeting unless I know what the agenda is. Well, let's have a meeting. What do you want to talk about? Well, no. Well, then send me what you want to talk about.
I think an agenda is always good because it concentrates the mind. Totally.
So once again, when this comes out, you can give it a big plug. If people want to look at all your product ranges and everything, go on. Plug away.
For now, the ranges that we have available now are up next at Anne Summers and the Kaleidoscope Group. So that's Freeman's, Grattan's, and all their various catalogues. Right. And coming into next year, it will be a much wider distribution, but I don't know yet the full extent of the distribution, because this is a conversation we are going to have next week with Hong Kong.
Fantastic.
with an agenda.
And now my final question is this: why do you call everybody Mouse?
Right. When I was
Because I always see that and I go, when the next time I see her, I've got to ask her.
It's not everybody. It's my husband, who's quite a big chap, and it's ironic
Yes.
because anything but a mouse. He's quite
Right.
he's quite fit. When I was very little, I was quite a little person, and my grandmother in Germany used to call me das kleine Mäuschen, which means the little mouse.
Right.
So I wasn't just I was a little mouse. And I called my daughter.
I don't know why that's tickled me. It's just tickled me. If I was your husband, I would not want to be called Mouse. By the way, I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
I'd be
I'm just putting it out there.
Or Waitrose and shouting mouse because he does
Yeah.
a disappearing trick.
I would be so quickly I'd be up the wine aisle and you wouldn't see me for 20 minutes.
Eye off him for 2 seconds and he's gone, and I'm going, mouse. You can take that out.
But if you yell that, don't all the staff start screaming and then running around with brooms looking for them?
No.
They don't care. It's Waitrose.
It's
If it was Waitrose, the mice would be wearing like suits and ties because it's Waitrose. They'd be so smart. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure seeing you. Thank you so much. See, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. I know you were a bit worried about it with our emails, but
I wanted the agenda.
The agenda? Nah, I'll never work like that. That would mean I'd have to be organised. That would be hopeless. Anyway, it's been lovely. Good luck with the new collection. Come back and see us when it launches and everything. Come back. I would love that. You kidding? You would love that. That'd be great.
You
take care. Bye. My pleasure. Bye.
I mean, honestly, just
you're a nice woman. Just so nice.
Yeah,
Paul Andrews says
nice
nicknames are funny. Nicknames are funny when you use them out and about. The looks you get.
Oh, tell me about it.
Sen Monroe. I was talking about how I used to write the catalogues by pretending it was Christmas, and said Russ and his method writing. You're absolutely right. I had to get in the mood. I mean, it was no good looking out the window and blazing sunshine, and you're writing about this comfy, warm coat.
But you know, Russell, you're clearly a trailblazer, because I don't know whether or not you've heard the news this week that the well-known sandwich shop that is Pret a Manger has brought Christmas early. You see, their argument is, no, I'm being serious. What they've done is for a few weeks in July, they have brought back their Pret a Manger Christmas sandwich range. And the reason why they've done this is because they say that people missed out in December this year, just gone in 2020 because of the pandemic. So as a result of it, you'll find that quite a lot of the Pret a Manger shops, including the one not too far away from where I am now, have got all Christmas decorations around them, because they're doing this to sort of celebrate Christmas in a belated fashion based on those who couldn't quite celebrate it back in December 2020.
I like Pret a Manger sandwich. God, this is like Radio Norwich suddenly. But the calories. Do you like this? I like them. But the calories are absolutely gigantic, and I won't just have a sandwich and suddenly I've banged into my gob 600 calories or so. I won't do that. As they're very good and they're delicious. I happen to like them a lot. And yes, they're always fresh. Except I used to like, what I used to like when we had the studio, Phil, and I used to love that little calf on the corner. Do you remember the little calf on the corner?
Yes. Sorry, I had to think about it. Yes, I do know which one you mean now.
I really liked it. Nicknames. Paul Andrews is. Could you read this out?
Paul Andrews
laugh too much. I'm going to stand up. Go on, carry on.
He said that I have a friend, and everyone calls them Bomber. Didn't even think when shouted for him at the airport.
Oh
my
God.
My friends all call me Madge, which raises some very odd looks.
Is that the weirdest thing or what? Yeah, I've got nicknames for Larry Viner and Lloyd Beanie, but we can't talk about
That's why, actually, people have to be very careful when they name dogs. This is nothing to do with Beanie or with Larry, but the point is that when you name a dog in something inappropriate and you let it run around the park, and you have to call it back afterwards. So I mean, seriously, the fact that there
Don't
was a
do
one,
that.
there was one time. So I think that sort of someone heard a dog had sort of shouted, had called their dog something. I just paraphrasing here, but I believe that they called the dog. This sounds terrible, but they called the dog pervert.
Oh my God.
So can you imagine
Oh
going
my
into the
God.
park? Seriously, could you imagine us going into the
Oh.
park and shouting out that? That would have caused all sorts of mayhem. What the hell were they thinking?
Sen says I was going to call my dog Syndrome.
Syndrome.
No, Sen, that is too subtle for me and Phil. We don't get. Forgive me standing up. I'm sorry, but I just got to stand up for a second. Now we
It's fine.
know
You look like one of
why-
those shock jocks. It's fine.
Oh, God forbid. Chrissy Holt, now we know why you're getting fat, Russ. LOL. Tell your mother to go. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Sen, stop it. No. Honest to God. Very naughty, Sen.
Oh, that's
But anyway.
that's no, I don't like that. My favourite was the what the hell's his name? Stephen, the American deadpan comedian. My mind's got his first name Stephen. He's genius. He goes, I was going to call my dog Stay. Here. Stay. Here. Stay. Do you want me to explain the joke?
I guess you had to be there. But anyway. No, I get the joke. I just didn't find it desperately amusing, to be honest. But Paul Andrews asked. Paul Andrews asked,
Thank you
is it
very
Steve
much.
Wright?
Steve
Yes.
Wright. Absolutely. Stephen Wright. Thank you, Paul. Absolutely right. Stephen Wright. Funny enough, the other night I watched on YouTube Stephen Wright's first network television on Johnny Carson. He'd been doing clubs up to that point, and Johnny Carson gave him his first break on network TV, and he killed it. And when he came on, because no one had seen Stephen Wright, we were used to it now, but no one had seen Steve Wright before. And he came on, and the audience didn't know what the hell to make of it, and they were kind of nervously laughing politely, and then they got it. And then these waves, it was wonderful to watch these huge waves of laughter as they totally got his style and what he was communicating. It was absolutely brilliant. No, Stephen Wright, not Radio 2 DJ Steve Wright. Stephen.
One does have to question the makeup of one's anatomy, if you'll forgive the expression, in this particular building I'm in, because I've just seen someone keeping their wrists safe with a mask on it. So I don't think their mask is going to do much good. But even it's nice to know that they sneeze at wrist. But anyway,
they're keeping them
warning that.
Paul, if I read that out, I'll be crossing my own boundary. And
yeah,
my
come on, Paul, seriously. What's the matter with you lot today, for crying out loud? Behave yourselves. Come on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sin, I get it, but it's too much for me. But what the hell?
My mother is asking, what were you going to call Monty, Phil? I don't remember. Was I going to call?
Uh-oh.
Hang on a second. I don't remember if there was another name that we had for Monty, was there?
Bound to be. I don't know. That's
I don't remember if there was another name.
Yesterday, I was trying to say the word. I was on a phone conversation with a significant other and trying to say the word dachshund. For the life of me, I couldn't say the word dachshund. It was the weirdest. My brain just had shut. I don't entirely blame the opioids, and I couldn't say the word dachshund. I'm going, like Phil's got two of them, and she's going dachshund, and I'm going, yeah, dash, what? Dachshund. I'm going, yeah, dash.
Oh yes, actually,
couldn't say the word.
Do you know what? My mother's just reminded me. Of course, I've just suddenly remembered the name that we were going to call Monty. I wanted to call him Hounslow because he's a low hound.
Hounslow.
She's just reminded me what I wanted to call him. Of course, I wanted to call him Hounslow.
Oh, that's so sweet, Hounslow. But I think Monty and Carlo is.
Oh no, that's perfect. But to be fair, we didn't have Carlo in those days.
Brent and Cross. have probably called it.
No, we
Pret
didn't.
and
We didn't have.
Monshake.
Yeah, but we didn't have Carlo in those days. We got Carlo afterwards. But we had Basil. Basil was our other dog. So Basil did
That's
know
hilarious.
Monty for a short time, but unfortunately didn't have Basil for very long after we got Monty. But anyway, so there we are.
Does he
Glassy
just
says
pack his back? They're such sweet dogs, says Glassy.
Yeah. Elizabeth
There's a
said one of
little-
her pugs is called Monty. Very good.
It's a nice name. I love the name Basil. It's just hilarious.
It was very good.
It's just a
That
funny
actually,
name. Isn't
that
it?
got some very funny looks as well when we were in the park and we were trying to recall him, Basil, and people would think that.
As in-
And actually, oh my goodness me, I've just remembered, and this is absolutely true. There was one time when we were watching Fawlty Towers, and Sybil has a go at Basil in one thing, and she just turns down and she says, Basil! And genuinely, the dog looked round to the TV.
Of course.
I thought it was amazing. I loved
When,
that. I wish I'd filmed it.
When I'm mobile, watching dog shows, the dogs are glued to the screen. What do they love? They love that Sheridan Smith. Was it called Pooch Perfect? Did you ever watch
good
that?
grief, come on. Really?
No, but the dogs loved it. They sat staring and we'd look and they go, they're staring at the screen. They loved
Yeah,
the
in
show.
disbelief.
It was, you know what? I didn't mind. It was an innocuous show. I thought it was innocuous. It was nice. It had dogs. Sheridan Smith was enjoying doing it. The panel looked like they were having fun. There's another silly show I like, which is a complete guilty pleasure. I have no idea what the hell it's called. And I think, who does it? Oh, the woman who's with Kevin Clifton. I can't think of the name. Stacey Dooley. And it's when they go to somebody's house and there's 4 blokes.
Oh, Stacey Dooley Sleeps Over, or whatever it's called.
No. Your private life's none of my affair. It's
Stop it.
No, it's not called that. Can you imagine you and Stacey Dooley? Stacey, hurry up, finish washing your hair, love. I've got to go to the loo. I don't know.
You're going to be long in there.
Yeah, that really hurt. I wish I hadn't done that. No. And they pretend that it's their house and their wife. Have you seen that?
Wife swap.
It's good. No, it's not wife's. Again, your private life. You're on a roll today. No. Oh, come on, help me out, everybody. It's 4 people, and they're all lying. One's telling the truth. They're all saying, "This is my home. This is
Would
my
I lie
life.
to you?"
This is where I live." So, no, that's another show. That's with the fabulous
Rob Brydon.
Robert. I love that show. This is my house. Thank you, Sen Monroe.
Do you remember who used to present Would I Lie to You? Angus Dayton.
Was that right? No, he used to do didn't he used to
He also
do
did Have I Got News for You? Yeah, he did Have I Got News for You. But anyway, Sen Monroe says that apparently Ziggy loves Columbo.
I'm sorry. My wife's a huge fan of you, Mr. Dave. She'll be just so excited that I got to meet you. Can I use your phone? Columbo. Bloody marvelous. Yeah, Glassy Amanda. Yes, it's a great show. You have to guess whose house it is. What always stuns me, I'm not fussed, Glassy, about whose house it is. I am fascinated whose wife it is. Because I'm saying, oh yeah, they look like a couple. And I inevitably get it. I've never guessed it right once. It's a clever way of dragging you into a show. It's a clever thing. Linda Day, if your mother
Chrissy said, well, hold that thought, because Chrissy says, this is in response to what Chrissy says. Chrissy says that my son is Barry, but everyone calls him Baz or Basil Brush. It annoys me. I don't like names being shortened. This is the Daily Show with Russ, Kane, and Phil Dave. Anyway,
yeah, we hate having our name shortened.
Yeah, let's also have in response
to
why
that. It ended up. But you've only ever been Phil Dave. But I wanted to be Russell Kane. And at Capital, when I started broadcasting on Capital in 1984, they said, "Oh no, it's got to be shortened." And I go, "Well, my name's Russell," and they went, "Well, it's not catchy," so it became Russ. It became Russ Kane, which is fascinating because my closest friends and my family only ever call me Russell. I will always introduce myself as "Hello, I'm Russell." I will always introduce myself like that. Oh, call my bluff. Oh man, that was such a class act. Oh, Frank Muir. They were my writing heroes, Frank Muir and Dennis Norden. Oh,
My mother says, by the way, in response to Chrissy's original comments about her son being called Barry, she says, my dad was called Barry. Well, actually, that was his nickname as well, let's be honest. But my dad was called Barry. I wouldn't like to say what people called him. And I can vouch for the truth in that statement.
well, we're all agog now. We're all completely like, what? What is that? Call my bluff. You see, it'd be too subtle for a show now. It was so classy and witty. Robert Robinson, they were just marvelous, those guys. Marvelous. That's what I grew up with, and that's how I wanted the world to be. That kind of elegant, witty, kind of terrific world, but it's all gone. I've always had my name shortened to Glassy.
As opposed to Glass.
This is so weird. What? I don't actually know what your name is. I have no idea. I always feel weird, Glassy Amanda, and I'm sure our guests go, what's he say? I've always had my name shortened to Glassy. Most people don't call me Amanda, apart from people, even my godkids call me Auntie Glassy.
You know, there were quite a few. You've said about
hilarious.
me always having been called Phil, but there is actually a reason behind it.
Her name's Amanda Glass.
Oh, there you go. You see,
okay,
who knew?
Amanda.
Well, clearly Glassy knew, but
Winderley knew, and Mr. Sheen knew, but apart from that, no one knew.
Other than that, he saw right through you.
Saw right through it.
Thank you very much. Sorry, what a pain. Anyway, right. I just saw the window of opportunity. I apologise. Anyway, God, I'm shassed after that. Anyway. Right. Anyway, dear, oh dear, I really don't understand where all these glass puns come from.
It's so much funnier when you're on opioids.
I know. Do you know what? You should be on opioids more often. Just laugh.
Sen goes, you glazed over that. Oh, that's very good.
I did.
Come on,
very
keep
good.
them coming,
very
everybody.
Good.
Come on, keep them coming.
Very good. No, my mother has said that when people call her Lynn, they'll get a smack. So she's just not like that. So.
She's very aggressive today, your mum. She's very aggressive.
The reason why
the reason I'm not using my professional mic and I'm using back to this is because
you have to bend down.
And I'm thinking, at least I can move around with this. So I'm hoping that there's not too much of a difference in the quality. Oh my God.
There's what, sorry?
Family. Shut your face. Michael Verby from Spain. God, your sister must be sick to death of you, brother. Remember, ask the family. No, that was top of the form.
No, hang on a second.
Ask the family. Ask the family. What was that? Come on.
Oh, crumbs. That theme tune is going to drive me mad now.
All right. We'll do it one more time. Bring back. Do you know, Sen, I knew you were going to go there. I knew, and I stopped myself from going there. So bad, Sen Monroe. I knew you'd go there, Ted Moult.
Crumbs.
Oh, come on.
Are you sure that wasn't Call My Bluff?
That was Call My. I think that was Call My Bluff.
I think that was the theme to Call My Bluff. But anyway, right. Anyway, so I was. Yes, I was saying though, as far as my name is concerned, that before the. I was going to say this. Oh, crumbs! Is this how you meet your maker? For crying out loud! Seriously. Laughing at a joke, unbelievable. Thank you. Paul Andrews says that was.
I'd be happy to go like that.
Paul Andrews does indeed confirm that was the Call My Bluff theme. But anyway, now I was going to say that the reason why I shortened my name is for two reasons. Number one is actually the trivial reason is because I was so fed up of people always calling me Dave, because Dave is obviously a more common first name, and Phillips is a more common surname. So I figured that if I shortened it to Phil, they would think Phil was the first name. Anyway, well, that worked. Sadly, not. Anyway, the other reason, which is probably the more serious one, is that there were so many elements in my school life that I absolutely hated for one reason or another, that I
Mhm.
just decided that after I left school, if I go into the adult world as Phil Dave, I've left Philip Dave behind me.
Oh, I get that. That's clever.
That was kind of the other reason. But anyway, so yes, but
All right,
above
Dave.
anything else, it sort of worked out quite well because
Trigger.
people.
Trigger.
It sort of
The
worked out quite well
comments-
because people
the-
think it works for radio. So.
The comments today are absolutely blinding. They're absolutely blinding today. Paul Andrews. All right, Dave. From Only Fools and Horses. Hang on, I'm checking. The Boy Monroe has sent me the theme tune. Let's see if we've got it. Then I can play it. Sam Monroe. Here we go. Hang on. Here it comes. Oh, this is the theme. This better be the right thing. Right. Okay. This should be the theme tune.
Well, that works.
No, I haven't done it yet. What's that? Hang on. Let's see what this. It's a bloody awful tune. Well, I don't like that at all. Well, I didn't like that. Was that the theme tune? I mean, I'm not blaming Sen. Oh, this is classic. Ramsey. This is Ramsey. Rodney. Trig, why'd you call me Dave? My name's not Dave. My name's Rodney. Trigger. I thought it was Dave, Rodney. No, it's not. Trigger. Are you sure? Rodney. Yeah, I'm positive. I've looked it up on my birth certificate and passport and everything. It's definitely Rodney. Trigger. Oh, well, you live and learn. So, what's Dave? I can't be. This is killing me. So, what's Dave? A nickname, like? Rodney. No, you're the only one who calls me Dave. Everybody else calls me Rodney, and that's the reason they call me Rodney, is because Rodney is... That's as much as I've got. God, this is the... This is Call My Bluff, right? Yeah, Call My Bluff, yeah. We don't do the whole show. Yep. I think we got it. Thank you. Paul Claridge says the tune I was...
theme.
It's catchy. The tune I just hummed, it was indeed Please Sir. My mate David played Frankie Abbott. And the one, yeah. So we've all caught up with ourselves now. Phil just played Call My Bluff. I played... Sen just sent me the theme tune for Ask the Family. I tell you, the shows I used to love listening to, I'd play along with, was Radio Norwich. Shut up, Paul.
If it's Radio Norwich,
fun.
why are you listening?
Yeah. I used to love Round Britain Quiz. They were great. I love those. Camberwick Green. No, do you know, I never watched those. That was just kind of missed it. The kids were at a different age. I was 102, so it didn't make any difference. Right. Get rid of that. That's gone. That's marvelous. Okay. It's nice to just kind of chill out at the moment. I don't know. It's going back to our
My
first
roots.
guest.
Oh, okay.
Going back. Yeah, that's it. Ask the family. And ask the family, please, if we're doing requests. Can we get that? This is the greatest fun. I love it when people play along. Can we have going back to my roots because they need doing. Can we have the Magpie theme next? The Magpie. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for something, 4 for a boy. Magpie. And somebody else, because it's up in the comments, said, "Do you remember Jack Hargreaves with How?"
For now.
How? Jack Hargreaves used to do a show a billion years ago called Out of Town. And when you're a townie like we were, you know, like mowing the grass was near we ever got to the the countryside. You know, seeing somebody surrounded by fields, even in black and white. Wow, that was a big deal.
Ramsey says that he used to run a pub quiz at work and often used those old theme tunes. The youngsters didn't have a clue.
I was watching an interview with Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley from a couple of years back. They're talking to each other again. They're from Kiss, by the way. I won't go into the whole thing. We'll talk about. I think I could do Mastermind on Kiss probably.
Heaven help us. Now we really are turning to Radio Norwich. Elizabeth Green says, I was wondering last night, what biscuits and snacks were we eating back then?
No. Even I, Elizabeth Green of New York City, even I have standards. I am not going down the Alan Partridge. I like this particular biscuit. Oh, God.
If you were a biscuit, what would you be and why?
And you think, Fred Dinage was on that show and his daughter became an MP. Really? His daughter became an MP and a government minister. Get out of town. Everyone's going crazy with this.
Oh, no.
All right.
Ramsey says cheese on Ritz. Cheese on Ritz with a dab of Branston.
Yes, Ramsey. We are kindred spirits. That's what I love. Branston pickle. People say, what's your favourite? And they go, oh, I'd like this. You know my favourite dish? I'm not joking. Cheese sandwich. That's my favourite. Cheese sandwich with Branston pickle. The best. What young lad didn't fancy Sally James? Michael, well, I meet Sally about once a year at Tarrant's barbecue because, of course, they're good mates from Tiswas days. She's so nice, and everybody went potty about Sally James, and she's so sweet and she's so nice. And the way she opened up, because it's always good to have the revenue stream. She opened up a school uniform business. The number of gags she had to put up with, we'll leave it at that. Let's have a Twiglets debate. No, let's not. Sally James, she was lovely. She's a very, very nice person. Phil, that was Sam Monroe was on Blind Date. Ended up marrying Cilla Black. Who knew?
Please welcome your host, Miss Cilla Black. He used to screech that bit, didn't he?
God knows why. Johnny Cash's friend. What the hell is everyone's going mad today? Paul Claridge, Jesus Christ. Paul Claridge, who remembers eating cheese and pineapple and cocktail sticks at parties? Yes, fine, it was the height of sophistication, Paul. Johnny Cash's friend. Sen, you and I need to have a conversation.
Sen, I hate to tell you. Don't know one person who works with her. Anyway.
Ask any members of a British Airways flight crew. This Is Your Life theme tune. Hang on. This Is Your Life. How'd it go? This Is Your Life. Well, I'm here in the wings of the Duke of York's theatre.
No, you see, I don't remember Eamon Andrews doing it. I remember Michael Aspel doing it.
Yeah, and Michael Aspel used to get so pissed off because if anyone did the impression, this slide did a very bad one, they'd only ever do Eamon Andrews. And Michael Aspel did it like forever. And he go, why don't anyone? Well, so no one knows how you speak. There's nothing distinctive about, how Eamon Andrews. He always looked so nervous, didn't he? I used to love that. I always wondered how he got through a show because he also looked terrified. Well, I'm in the wings of the Duke of York's theatre to meet one of the nation's favourite broadcasters. He doesn't know we're here. It's going to be a big surprise.
There was one time when ITV brought back This Is Your Life for a one-off special, and it was presented by Sir Trevor McDonald, and Simon Cowell was the person they surprised. Got to be honest, Sir Trevor McDonald, I'm so surprised that it did not take off because I thought he was brilliant at it. And I was really disappointed it was a one-off. I was so sure they were going to bring a series.
He's got a way with him. I think Trevor McDonald's got an absolute way with him. It's this is going to sound a very weird thing to say, but you trust what he's saying, you feel an empathy with him, you feel a warmth with him, and you feel like he actually cares about what he's doing. And I was always a big fan of his. Ian Brown, who takes the piss out of me every day on Twitter, it gets quite vicious, but he's a very funny guy. Ian Brown used to write the scripts for This Is Your Life. That's absolutely right. he did. Ian Brown's path. We actually were working on the same shows, and we never ever met. And so we had a coffee. He came over for coffee about 2.5 years ago. We'd never met before, but it made me laugh. No, absolutely. Sen, that's very nice to hear that she was nice to you. I'm not decrying that at all. If Cilla Black was very nice to you, she was always extremely nice to me, but she was meeting me under social circumstances. She had absolutely no reason not to be nice. I'm always stunned. You know, it's one thing. It's not excusable. But if you're a celebrity, whatever the hell that word means, it's meaningless. But let's just use it for the sake of convenience. And if you're a private event, so you've all been invited, so you're all on a level playing field. If you're chatting to somebody, and you're not coming up as a fanboy, you're coming up because someone's invited you, like they've invited the celebrity. So therefore, people should be nice. And I've only met 2 people who I will not name who were vile, absolutely vile. This was in somebody's home. They were rude the first year, held the party again another time, went up with my partner, rude again, and we just said, oh, I can't repeat the language. Unbelievably rude. Unbelievably rude. And on screen, so charming. Real life, absolute cow. There we are. What's my
Well, let's just hope. Let's
You're
just
going
hope
back
that.
there.
Well, let's just hope that our next guest is just as charming, if not more so, who is waiting very patiently in the digital green room, poised as a spring, looking mildly horrified at what lies ahead of him. It's George Taylor. George Taylor is the founder and CEO of Gramercy, the digital publisher specializing in consumer and retail startup news. We'll hear all about that and much more, I've no doubt. George, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Men's Radio.
Pleasure to meet you, Russ and Phil, and thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here, so thank you.
You're saying that. We haven't started yet. In 10 minutes' time, you'll be going, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, you know, sometimes we have regrets in life, Russ, but we learn to live with them, don't we? We learn to live with them.
Well, you know what, George? You mark it down to experience, and you say, like so many things we do in life, never doing that again. And you go, there we are.
Exactly. I don't think this will be one of them, Russ. I think we'll be okay.
Now, we're always fascinated, and the audience is always fascinated by everybody's backgrounds, and I mean physical background. Is that a porthole or is that a mirror?
That is, well, I live in a submarine, Russ.
This is what I was thinking.
The sea's out there.
This is what I was thinking. Well, it's good. And are you on a sort of 6 months tour, or I know you can't tell us where you are because
to tell the truth, it's a vanity thing, really. It's so that I can look at myself in the mirror to try and get some kind of self-validation of some sort. They're called mirrors. You ever heard those before?
No, I don't. Do you know what? I've actually got to the stage, and I tend not to look. If I'm sort of shaving over, but otherwise I'm like, I'm not going to look today. I try and avoid it like a vampire. Tell us about yourself, George, because you've got a million things going on, and we'd love to know all about them. So you kick off at the beginning and work your way through.
Yeah, sure, Russ. Well, my background is, like you say, a bit crazy. I mean, in terms of what I do career-wise, I am a musician. I play in a pop rock band. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to release our debut yet because just as we're starting to get things wrapped up, COVID came along. I know that obviously I'm not the only one that's suffering. What do you play? So I play guitar, and I'm also the lead songwriter in the band. We're called Good Time Locomotive, but we haven't actually launched it. So it's pre-launch stage. But as well as that, I've been a journalist for many years now. I run as you said, an online startup magazine, but we specialize solely in retail and retail startups. So we give brands a platform to tell their story, show off what they do, because obviously in this day and age, if you're a brand new startup, no one knows who you are. The chance of you getting in something like the Daily Mail or the Huffington Post is, you'll notice yourself, slim to none, right?
Slim. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
So I mean, even our previous guest, the famous Eliza Rager, with that huge brand name, coming in with Janet Rager, even she, you're only as good as your last product, aren't you? You're as good as your last show. You're as good as your last song. That's how life sadly is. It's pretty brutal.
It is, but that's what we're trying to solve. We're trying to create a world where that that system changes. You know, they can come to us and they're not going to have that same problem. So, but I mean, the thing is, the underlying thing with what I do is helping people at the end of the day, and that's also why I'm on here today, because as well as my business and music side of things, you know, I've also lived a very, very interesting life. People sometimes say that my story is inspiring to them, so I kind of feel like today is a call to arms, really, and I wanted to share not only a little bit about my life, but also about ways I can help other people, and in particular, I promised a very dear friend of mine, bless her, she's going through quite a hard time emotionally and mentally right now. She's not doing too great in terms of the depression side of things. So I promised her I would do a quick shout out. I won't say her name, but she hopefully she'll be checking in, and also I would like to dedicate this to her. Actually, that's what I'd like to do.
That's very sweet of you. I mean, obviously, we are all about mental health and well-being. We're not about old TV theme tunes, although we like to play around sometimes. Is your friend getting proper professional help? Don't mind me asking.
She's quite early on in the stage at the moment. I mean, I think that's the next step. She's been faced with the unfortunate circumstances so many people have, which is, if you've never had mental health problems ever your whole life, you're one of the lucky ones, right? Suddenly this thing creeps up on you and you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't know what to look for. What could you possibly do in that situation? So in her case, the people the people I have the most empathy for are those people, because they're the ones that feel helpless. They don't know where to go. They don't know how they can cope with it. Whereas if you've been depressed in the past, you've had some kind of mental health crisis, and then let's say, I don't know, God forbid, 5-10 years later, it comes back to you again. At least you have something. You can go, well, I remember how I felt last time, and here's what I did. Here's how I got out of it. So those people are better equipped for the situation.
It's very. I'd just like to look at this for a minute before we get straight back to you, George. But it's a very frightening situation, and if you suddenly think, "Oh my God, there's something horribly wrong here," it's very disturbing. And I think one of the most important things is to know where to go, where to start to get help. And that's what we're all about here, both on men's and women's radio. It's to try and signpost it. Now, we have experts on who give advice. Phil and I, we're not doctors, we're not psychiatrists. We would never give advice. We could make a suggestion, but we wouldn't do it. But we would certainly signpost you to where, help is available. But it's very important. And as I was saying with Aliza, every day for most people is a struggle. Life is not a walk in the park, is it? So we wish your friend, all the team here at MRS and WRS, wish your friend the very, very best. If there's anything, by the way, if there's anything we can do, make some recommendations or whatever, you know how to get hold of me now through the emails. Just reach out with the greatest of pleasure, and we can, point in the right direction with a bit of luck.
That's very kind of you, Russ. Thank you. She would appreciate that. In fact, she knows about you guys. So
okay.
So yeah, she'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much.
One of the things is, that has been wonderful is that people have been so open and honest. The people who've come on and all the people with their comments, when they're not arsing around and we're not arsing around, when it's deep, serious subjects, they've been so supportive. People have been so supportive to each other. And that was a dream come true. I didn't think that would happen when we kicked this off. But yeah, it's really it's a special
thing. This is the problem with the world we live in. I mean, it's easier to hate. It's easier to criticize. It's easier to send negativity out. In fact, actually, it requires less energy, less emotional intelligence to hate people, and that's why war is a natural thing that we can resort to when there's conflict, right? But the truth is it takes an upper level of emotional intelligence to be honest, upfront, and to learn communication skills and the best way of conveying how you feel. And I think that we're at a place in the world now where finally we are reaching a tipping point. People are starting to realize that at the end of the day, you get back what you put out. As simple as that. If you're nice to people, you'll get nice back.
George,
that's the way it works.
You know what? I wish everything you've just said, if I could wave a magic drumstick and make it happen, I would so do so. I wish that was the way. I think that we've become far worse. I think it's become more toxic. I think more and more idiots are piling in on stuff that they know the square root of sod all about, and they're being taken seriously and getting airtime on interviews and stuff like that. Somebody, Ray Gelato, my pal, summed it up beautifully. I don't know how you feel about this, George. He said, we were having a coffee the other day, and he said, I think the world's having a collective nervous breakdown. And I honestly, that resonated with me, and I can't get the phrase out of my head. You know, because of what I do a lot of social media. And I have to come out of it and feel like I want to have a shower sometimes. It's just disgusting. I don't mean sexually disgusting. It's neither here nor there. The level of toxicity is astonishing. Was life always like this? Was it always like this?
I agree with you, Russ. I agree with you. The thing is I wasn't sure how deep down the rabbit hole I was allowed to go with this, because I can get pretty deep.
You want. No, that's the whole point of this radio station.
It goes pretty far down with me, but I totally agree with you, and I think that is absolutely right, and that's something I've witnessed myself, right? So I'm going to use an analogy here. It's a bit of a random analogy, but it works. Years ago, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, if you went to get a band together, the way you did it was you either put an ad in the newspaper, spoke to your friend of a friend, and then suddenly you had 5 band members, you were making music, and that was how it went. Whereas what I found now, I mean, I'm talking over 10 years later from that day, we are posting unbelievable amount of auditions out on the internet. We're getting, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many applications we get filled out. They submit their demos, but as soon as it comes down to the push to shove part, which is, could you learn a song, or could you send us a video of you playing our song? Or as soon as the commitment part comes in, it's all about the commitment part. As soon as that bit comes in, that's when the whole thing falls to pieces. And in this day and age, because of technology, it's easier to block people on WhatsApp, block people on Instagram, ghost people. I mean, ghosting's always been around. That's not a new thing. I mean, people have been ghosting people for centuries. But I think
George, explain to everybody what ghosting means.
Ghosting is where you duck out of having to face responsibility for your actions and the consequences. So, for example, people in my experience, in a lot of cases, really struggle just to tell the truth. So it's, look, guys, I don't like the music, or look, I'm not really getting a good vibe from you guys, or I haven't really got the commitment. I've got a lot going on. I've got a screaming baby. Whatever it is, whatever the reason is, in a lot of ways, is irrelevant. But the things that's at the core of that, at the very core of that, is this: it's easier, and it is easier. It is easier to block somebody online and to disappear off the face of the earth than it is to just simply send one message. But the question is why do we do that? And I'll tell you why. The same reason people suffer with mental health problems is often very similar to why people ghost. Fear is because by opening up and telling the truth, I fear I've been judged, I fear making myself vulnerable, I fear backlash, I fear consequences of my actions. And in this particular case, it's, well, what if they think I'm lazy, or what if they, send me a nasty response?
Here's the thing, George. Let's just keep it to this area, because it works out well. My late dad had been dead 20 plus years, but he used to say, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'd be worried about something. He says, well, are they going to drag you into the street and shoot you? And I went, well, of course they're not. He goes, well, then Sodom. And that's always been my attitude. So, for example, I don't understand with this why they just don't say, you know what, George or Mr. Taylor, I'm not feeling it. Please don't be offended. I wish you loads of luck. I do that. If somebody wants me to get involved in a project, I won't not answer. I'll say either I'm too busy, thank you so much, or I don't think this is for me, but I wish you all the very, very best. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just being honest. I don't understand it.
Because
I don't get it at all.
We fear that, though. I mean, going back to what you said on about how we live in a toxic culture. That's kind of what you was going with this, right? This is why, and actually, a lot of it comes back to this. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, whether you're looking at depression, anxiety, if you're looking at relationships, friendships, social media, fake news, whatever it is, all this stuff comes back to the same underlying principle, which is fear of vulnerability, fear of being judged, a commitment phobe, so to speak, fear of hard work. Because, and I'll tell you why I think that is. The reason I think that is because technology, and let me be specific here, technology, not this kind of technology, this kind of technology, i.e. software, has created a world where you can get whatever the hell you want with one click or a swipe. Amazon one-click purchase. Tinder, swipe right, swipe left. I don't use Tinder, but you know, that's the methodology behind it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you imagine that you've spent 10 years doing that, you've spent 10 years, suddenly the thought of having to work harder than the swipe or harder than the like to get the result seems, hey, really, I've got to work for this thing, or there's a consequence to my behavior. And now that is what it is.
This is something that Phil and I talk about a lot, is that, you know, for every action there's a reaction. If you're going to do certain things, there are consequences. You can't expect there not to be consequences. It's completely ridiculous. I think there's an additional thing, and I don't want to make this about the music industry because it's not an industry that anymore interests me at all. I either like the music or not, but, and it's not called music business for nothing, because it's 95% business, 5% music, as we all know. And I'm not blaming it. You know, if I could, I'm going to say Simon Cowell and reality shows, and I wouldn't blame it. I would have done the same as Simon. You know, I've met Simon many times. I would have done the same. So I'm not being like one of these people sitting on the sidelines. Yeah, oh, he's a multimillionaire. Yeah, because he thought of it. And good luck. But what it did do is create now an entire generation of people who think you can work for 4 weeks, and at the end of that 4 weeks, you will be a millionaire. All your problems will go away. You'll be a celebrity and you'll be adored. It's insane. But this is what people, some of whom are vulnerable, believe, because this is what they've been sold. None of that is true. None of it is true.
Actually, Russ, to tell you the truth, it's actually the opposite, and I'll explain why.
Of course it is.
Years ago, if you go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s and the 80s to some degree, the way it used to work was you used to get obviously your 3-4 major labels, you know, your Sony, your Warner, whatever it was. They would essentially go into these bars, these little caverns with 50 capacities.
They'd send out the A&R men, and
they'd write a check. They'd write a massive check. I'm talking millions of pounds, right? They essentially bankroll you, give you an advance, you know, put some makeup on your face, do a photo shoot, provide all the service, and then they'd push you out. Whereas now what's happening is we're seeing it go the other way. What we're now seeing is that if you walk into a major record label, knocking on the door with your SoundCloud link or whatever it is, right, they will say, how many followers you got on Facebook? 3. Yes. Okay. What bands have you supported? Nobody. Okay. What festivals you played? None. How many hits you lately got? If you say 300, get out. They're not interested, because what they now want to do is they want to sign you up to a record deal. But the difference is that the risk for them is lower, because you've put the hard work in, you proved the concept, and now all they're doing is putting less money, because you've already kind of made it, so then just push it out to
George, appreciating to the converted. I had so many of the meetings when we were in music management, and they're not looking at you. They're looking at the screens. So it's only about that. And the other thing, and then I will leave it because I want to move on to mental health. But one thing that the labels, why they're so behind the curve, and this is all to do with social media and the way that we are. There is no correlation between the number of followers you have and the number of units that you shift. No correlation at all. That is a matrix which is completely false. Doesn't matter. You can have millions of followers, doesn't mean you can have millions of sales. Right, interesting comment coming in from Edinburgh, from Veronica Curran. Hi, Veronica, again. Talking about mental health. It says, we've all become more aware of our emotional wellness. I agree. Fantastic first step, as she's being open with you. That's with you, George, not with me. Strength sent with love. It is the reason we set up men's radio. And I put in the strapline where men really talk, although men's radio could even be called something else now, because, as I say, 50% of our audience are women, is that people wouldn't talk and they'd bottle it up, and women are infinitely better at discussing a problem with, how are you? And they'll tell them. And guys go, oh, yeah, great. You see the football on Saturday? And inside they're dying. And
this is a big part of the problem.
It's a huge problem.
Emotions have always been associated to be a gender-related thing. It's always been women talk with their girly friends, women express their emotions, women do this, and that's true. That's true, but it's not a gender thing. It's not a gender thing. It's not a. That's just the way we've been conditioned. And to tell you the truth, I was actually thinking about this recently. I was asking the question: where did this start? There must have been a point in our history, whether it's 100 years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever, where somewhere along the line we've learned that women are emotional creatures and men aren't, and men can't talk about
It's very
emotions.
simple, George. I'll answer that question. It goes back. It really does go back to Neanderthal times, cavemen times, when men, because they were physically, let's not get into a whole gender thing, but men were, because they were physically stronger, would be the hunter-gatherers and go out and get the food, bring it back to the camp, and the women would be looking after the children in the camp, by the cave or whatever, and the guys were the providers, and the women would nurture the children and prepare the food, and that's basically how it worked. And the men were doing the kind of the dangerous thing of hunting down whatever the hell they were hunting down with their spears, and it started from that. And then of course you had the whole, stiff upper lip, big boys don't cry, grow up hair, which is in fact a brand new impetus that we're doing with Dave Sleep about grow up hair, except we're talking about grow up hair of ears. It's a whole new twist on it, which I'm really excited about being part of. So you had all of that sort of thing, man up, all these dreadful phrases, and that's how it was.
A lot of that comes down to, I mean, when I spoke on, there's a really great organisation run by a friend of mine called Let's Get Men Talking. They push this concept of toxic masculinity, right? And what I did a really in-depth piece when I was on their show a few months ago, talking about this concept of masculinity. And now here's how I break that down. So in a lot of people's minds, masculinity is one thing. So this is masculinity, or this is masculinity, right? It's a fixed right of the abode, and if you don't sit within that whatever that is, that shape, that form, you are automatically, in some cases, not a man. But then here's how I describe it. I describe masculinity as a spectrum of behavior. So, for example, you've got people that are, the nice guy, very nice, very polite, on one side, right up to kind of alpha male, Donald Trump domineering, bordering on narcissism. These guys will clean your house for you. These guys won't, but there's a spectrum of behavior, right? And what I think about the modern man is that everybody should try and position themselves somewhere in the middle. That's what I think, because you need to be strong, confident within yourself, but also selfless, caring, empathizing, giving, loving, able to express your emotions. I'm not saying you should cry all day, every day, but I'm saying able to express your emotions in a healthy way. And I think that's where we've now got to. We've got to a place where we need to find a way to fit ourselves in the middle. And it all starts with breaking the fear, because we, like I said before, we fear being judged. We fear being vulnerable. We fear being caught out. Maybe we fear, what if that person finds out this thing about me? But at the end of the day, the only way you can truly build meaningful, lifelong, deep connections and true intimacy is to do what it says on the tin. Be intimate.
It's all got too complicated, I think. I think a lot of it is being overthought. It's just about being honest with yourself and decent with other people. It's not really, it is not that complicated. We're not discussing quantum physics, but I don't know why it's got so horribly complicated. And I think that men do find it difficult because you're being pushed and pulled and shoved around in so many different directions. You got to be this, you got to be that. Well, you don't have to be any of it. All you have to be is a decent human being. And that's your baseline, and everything else from that is a plus. That's really what it's about. And I come back to the very basics of this radio station, is that talking is what, don't bottle it up, because the bottling it up of emotions leads to depression, that's not me saying it, that's like every expert you could ever talk to. They will say it leads to depression, and that, at its worst extrapolation, can lead to self-harm or worse.
Absolutely, and I'm witness to that. I'm witness to that. You know, I've been in relationships with women, long-term relationships with women that will not talk. And but then on the flip side, I'll tell you a story. One of my ex-girlfriends, we were sitting in the living room watching some television show or something with the family, and she always used to wear long sleeves all the time. She always wear long sleeves.
I think we're slightly ahead of you here, George. Go on.
I think you beat me to this. You're getting there before I'm not even explaining it. You've already figured it out, right? And I said to her once, I said to her, Can I ask why you always wear long sleeves? And now I already knew what she had underneath. I already knew that. She said, yeah, because I don't want my parents to know what I've been doing to myself. And I said, well, actually, don't you think that would be the logical next step to tell your parents? In her mind, she could not comprehend that. She did not understand that actually speaking to her own family, who she lives with, who love her dearly and want the best for her, that they should be knowing about what's here, which is cuts. Many cuts. I never judged her. In fact, to be honest, I tried to offer my support. But as soon as I said to her, look, you know, I care about you. I want the best for you. If you ever want to talk, I'm always here for you. She never once opened up to me. And to tell the truth, that was actually the thing that ended up becoming the demise of our relationship in, because I felt like I only really knew 10% of who she really was. So here I am, and suddenly I'm realizing that this is not, like I said before, and honest, this is not a gender thing. This is something that so many people have issues with. And the way I see it is like this: her life will never get better until she can find something in herself to open up, be honest, seek some kind of solace somewhere through something. Otherwise, I hate to say it, the self-harming will continue. It just will continue. And we need to realize that.
If we moved away from that self-harming scenario, but any scenario, whether it's addiction, depression, whatever it might be, whatever, I put it under the aegis of mental health, if I may, that umbrella. Unless that individual wants to get better, the first thing is you want to change. You have to want to change. And if you don't believe that, if you haven't come to that conclusion, you will not improve, and it'll get worse. At the worst case scenario, it'll stay as it is, which isn't great. The worst case scenario is it spirals out of control. But once that individual, male, female, it doesn't matter, has made the decision, I want to get better. I don't know how, but I know I want to. I want to stop drinking. I want to stop taking drugs. I don't want to be depressed the rest of whatever it might be. Then you can move forward by getting the right help and professional help as well. But until that decision is made, you're nowhere.
And domestic abuse is actually a great example of how to explain that, because I mean, I've personally experienced domestic violence, not me as in, but I've been witness to it. And one of the things I'll say about that is I watched a documentary once, and it was a documentary about 3 women that were, I mean, honestly, it was some of the worst domestic violence case I've ever seen, to the point where these people end up in a hospital, broken ribs, they have black eyes. But what is fascinating about that whole makeup, that whole concept, is that these women would go back to these I mean, I'm not talking abusive, I'm talking incredibly abusive men.
Horrible human beings.
I mean, nasty, really nasty stuff, right? Abuse on a different scale. They would go back to these men, and there's a specific system out there with the courts. So if you want to seek legal justice for that, right, there's a system that has been built for this situation. And here's how it works: we will put this through court, we will assign this to a judge, we will let you do the whole, gathering evidence thing, putting together a case, on one condition. And the condition is you are not allowed to contact or have any type of communication with the person. And because if you do, if we find out you've, I don't know, been having sex with them or meeting up with them or having a coffee or whatever, talking to the phone, whatever it is, that will automatically pull it out of the legal system. And then you have to go back round the loop again. So here's what happens. These women go, okay, no problem. Half a year later, they relapse. they find themselves in bed with the man or living back with the bloke again, whatever it might be, right? And then it's only a matter of time before that bloke does the same thing again. They end up back in hospital. She kicks him out. She goes back around the legal loop again. And what the bit that really got me about this was that these women would do this for 10, 15, 20 years before they finally stood up and said, I am not doing this anymore. Now, that takes, I mean, admittedly, it takes unbelievable courage. It takes incredible strength. But
it does take courage. You know, it's very easy, George. I'm not saying that you're doing this. I'm saying generally, it's so easy to stand on the sidelines and you go objectively, what the hell's the matter with you? You're going back to this horrendous relationship with someone who's violent. And don't forget, we've had a lot of guests who are men who have had the crap beaten out of them by women. It's not always a one-way street, but predominantly, let's be very clear, it is men who are perpetrating this violence, of which there is never, ever an excuse. There's never an excuse. It's inexcusable. That's it. That's something I totally believe. And it's very easy when you're not involved, you're looking at it completely, you must be mad. But when you're in, you know, when you're in the middle of all this, there's children often involved. Humans are very complicated creatures in many ways, so it's a huge issue. Listen, will you because we're running out of time and never got another, will you join us again at some point? We'd love to have you back.
I'd love to, yeah. I'd love to. Definitely, yeah. There's just if you don't
and
mind,
if we want to know more about you,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's only because I never got another guest who's rolling up any moment now. Coming straight in from New York. Now, George, if you want to know more about you, people want to reach out to you, is there a website or a web address, or is there something that
well, the best place to grab me is on LinkedIn. I mean, it's George Taylor, and if you look at Gramercy, it's GRAMERSI. If you just Google George Taylor Gramercy or go onto LinkedIn, type that name, you'll find me. You can follow us on Twitter with We Are Gramercy and Twitter and Instagram, or Gramercy on Facebook and LinkedIn. Anyone who's been checking in today is more than welcome to reach out to me. Like I said, my goal today is to try and help some people. So if they do want to reach out, I'm always willing to lend an open ear. And if I can do anything to help, then I'd thoroughly love to do that.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much. It's hugely appreciated. LinkedIn, I will be linking up with you later in the day if I can ever get up to stand again. George Taylor, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We'll have you back. Interesting guy.
Marvelous stuff.
Interesting.
Now, waiting in the wings, hot off the trail of her extraordinary travels. Oh, look, it's only Chantal.
Oh, she's back. She's back. Can you hear us in Dubai, New York, and Colorado? What time is it there, Chantal?
Well, in Wandsworth, it's 1:32.
Wandsworth. Oh, to dream of that.
Of all of the locations you've been to.
Is Wandsworth known as Mile High City? Is it?
There is a vision.
Can you breathe all right there in Wandsworth?
Well, I think so, although I'm not allowed outside the door because I'm officially isolating. So I haven't been outside the door since I arrived on Sunday.
Oh, the good news is that there was never going to be an excuse for you to turn around to us and say that you couldn't do today.
Absolutely.
There's always an excuse. You could say, I can't be asked. And we'd have to go, okay. It's interesting, really. There's a whole link because you know Dickie Shelton, who was our first guest, Richard Shelton, don't you?
Yeah.
And he's isolating as well. So we've got two of our guests. This is the world in which we live. Two of our guests isolating.
Well, I figure we found a new way, actually, of dealing with the guests. If we only get guests who are isolating, then it's perfect. We've got a captive audience.
They've got nothing else. They've got sod all else to do. They're just happy to.
Well, the NHS have been checking up on me. They have phoned.
This is what Dickie
every
was saying.
day.
I never knew. Talk us through this. What is this phone?
So if you come back from somewhere dodgy, or what the Brits would describe as dodgy, so I came back in from Los Angeles last Sunday, and you're supposed to isolate, I think, for 10 days. Mm-hmm. But you can opt at vast expense to do something called track and release at your own expense, which means that you can go to your own home if you want to. You have to have a test on day 2, a test on day 5, and even if the one on day 5 is clear, you have to do another test on day 8 for safety. But if the one on day 5 is clear, you get your release papers. So in theory, I've just done my day 5 test. In theory, once the results come back from that, which should be by tomorrow lunchtime, then I can open the front door and rejoin the rest of Wandsworth.
Wandsworth's holding its breath
Yeah.
with excitement, I tell you that.
But the NHS have phoned every day, and they phone on a mobile phone.
Is this a random call? A random time?
No. The time is you don't know the time at all, but you are told to expect phone calls. I don't know whether they're tracking my phone digitally in terms of.
I wonder that as well.
Oh my God!
I really don't know, but I wonder
that
that
is
as well.
a whole can of worms you just opened.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they do say, "Are you at the address that you put on the form?" And they do say, "We could come and knock on your door at any moment."
And you said, "Well, that's good because I've run out of milk, so that'd be marvelous." Right, I've got a question from Lloyd Beanie. I've got 2 questions actually straight away, and these are not silly. Well, Lloyd's not a silly question. Lloyd had not seen. I give you a tiny little bit of background. Lloyd had not seen his son and granddaughter for something like 15 months. It was ridiculous. He couldn't get into America, so they met up in Mexico. Lloyd was open about it because he was posting pictures. I'm not telling tales out of school.
Yeah.
So Lloyd's question is, can you ask Chantal how she managed to enter the US?
Well, I went for business, so you can still get in for business. You have to fill out something called a passenger locator form that goes to the British government. You have to state why you are leaving the country if you're going to a country that isn't a green zone. I declared that I was going on business, and I went into the United States twice because I went back to Dubai twice, rather peculiarly, whilst I was overseas. But each time it wasn't a problem at all. But when I came back from LA on Sunday, I had to fill out another HMG form, passenger locator form, to reintroduce myself back into Great Britain so that they know officially that I'm here.
And now, Chantal, at every step of the way, were you guided through this, or is this research you've had to carry out and that you knew you had to do because you looked up on a certain website, or were you how did you know what you have to do?
Well, it was a bit of having somebody terribly helpful in the office doing the initial research for me, and then me adding to it. So, in fact, I had forgotten about the passenger locator form, so I was rapidly filling that in as I was on my way to LAX, to Los Angeles Airport. But all was good, and I got back in, and everything seemed to be fine, other than that the automatic gates weren't working, so there was a horrible queue at Heathrow.
Now, Richard Shelton was saying that I asked him, so it's interesting, you've both come in from Los Angeles. That's an 11.5-hour flight that I know well, but you had to wear your mask. I couldn't do it. I couldn't wear a mask.
You have to wear your mask.
Couldn't.
And actually, I recognised the chap in the seat in front of me only when we both sort of stood up as the plane landed. And it was the lovely actor Andy Serkis who...
oh, my God. My precious...
He is a wonderful British actor.
Wow, he's a fabulous.
And he was sitting in front of me, and he said, "I recognised the voice, but because you had your mask on, I couldn't see who it was." Anyway, we both said hello and caught up very quickly as we were leaving the plane. But that was lovely. But yes, so during the night, I had my eye mask on and I had my face mask on, so I felt like
bloody hell.
It was horrible, really horrible.
Oh, I couldn't bear it.
Yeah.
And what was the deal with food on the plane? Did they serve any?
Yeah,
you're allowed to take your mask off when you're eating or drinking, and then you have to put your mask straight back on again. But America now feels as though it's opened up. So I've been to LA, Denver, and New York in the last 2 weeks, and everything feels much more sort of uplifting and out of lockdown. So people aren't really wearing masks as much. Some people are wearing them, but not very many people are wearing masks anymore. And the restaurants are full. I mean, in New York, you couldn't get a table for love nor money because all the restaurants are as busy as anything. Yeah.
Now, Chantal, of course, you are here for a particular reason.
Hang on, Phil. Time out. I know she is, but there's some fascinating questions here. And while she's here, stop it, Phil. Ramsey says, Chantal, can you confirm the rumours that you and Nigel Lithgow are getting stars on the Hollywood Boulevard?
Ah, well, it sounds as though somebody's been reading this week's Variety magazine, which, as
Ooh.
many of your listeners will know, is the sort of big Hollywood rag. It's the Hollywood newspaper, basically. It's a magazine that comes out every week. And there are 10 pages on lovely Nigel Lithgow, who created
Pop Idol.
Pop Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, all sorts of wonderful things. Was on the original New Faces a million years ago.
Oh my God, was it?
And made a fantastic career for himself in America. He was the ex-chairman of BAFTA in Los Angeles, and as you know, I used to work for them. So I know Nigel quite well. And indeed, he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So there are 10 full pages in Variety about Nigel. Yeah. So it's sort of interesting.
Facebook friends with Bonnie, bizarrely. I'm not getting involved. But she's perfectly nice, but I've got no skin in the game, so it's fine. Let me ask you this before we get into TV. This is a really good question from Paul Claridge, Phil. And no, because Chantel's at the top of her game. It's an interesting question. Because who else are we going to ask, right? Paul Claridge says this. I think the BBC have now...
No, I was going to do that as part of TV.
You read it out. Go on, read it out.
No, well, it's not. It's well, I haven't actually got the theme tune. My phone's just died, so I haven't got the theme tune. So go for it. I'm sorry.
So, I think the BBC have now gone too far in their efforts to dumb down TV by appointing Paddy McGuinness as the replacement for Sue Barker on A Question of Sport. To me, I'm going to shove my tuppence worth in. That's pure ageism. Pure ageism, and it's unacceptable. That's just me.
Okay. It's a point of view. I mean, I always thought that...
No, it's A Question of Sport.
And Paddy McGuinness he just feels like a sort of, just a showbiz host. And I know he's great and he's funny and he's brilliant, but I always thought it was much more a sports program than an entertainment show. And clearly they've shifted it. So rather like James Corden does A League of Their Own on Sky, which is their sports program equivalent. He's a sports fan, but clearly he's a showbiz guy. So, and that's been a very good combination actually for A League of Their Own, which has now been running about 10 years, I think, and massively successful on Sky One. So I probably wouldn't have chosen Paddy. I would have chosen somebody from the sports community, but they will make these decisions, and not my choice, except he's a great presenter.
I just think it's odd. There's no other way to put it. I mean, you certainly can't accuse the BBC, like a lot of people do at the moment when they make replacements, of tokenism, because there's no tokenism going on there. In fact, it's actually the first time in a very long time that I recall a presenter being replaced by someone, if I'm brutally honest, who's white male. I'm sorry to say it, but it's actually true. There is a real effort on the front of the BBC to try and offer as much diversity as possible. So it feels like in some weird way, this is actually a step backwards for them, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily complaining about on that front. But what I am sort of complaining about is that Sue Barker is clearly an expert in her field, and Paddy McGuinness just doesn't quite seem like a suitable replacement. But anyway, we'll say one thing. I'm just interested. They most definitely did do a right replacement, though. When Stephen Fry left QI, there was, to me, no one else but Sandy Toxford who could have taken over.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
See,
I'm surprised it wasn't Stacey Dooley. Yeah, Stacey Dooley would have been the other obvious choice, because she's presenting, I think, 95% of BBC out.
97% of all shows have to have Stacey Dooley.
Or Graham
Doesn't matter what it is. Or Graham. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right. We're going to get into trouble with the BBC now.
We don't care what they're going to do. Not employ us. Oh,
I was going to say, what's the worst they're going to do? Fire me?
Make a big difference to my life. It's going to make you hard to move. Tell me something. So, what has tickled your eyeballs recently?
Having just come back from LA, I wanted to just point out that the final series of Bosch, which has absolutely been one of my telly favourites for the last 7 years, has just arrived on Amazon. Bosch is a cop drama. It is written by Michael Connelly. Michael Connelly is one of the sort of big pulp fiction writers in America. Yeah. I think he's brought out 35 books. He's sold 80 million copies. And he used to be the crime writer for the LA Times. I think I've mentioned him before on the show, but this is the very final series of Bosch. Hieronymus Bosch is the lead cop. His daughter is a young woman who is probably going to become a lawyer, and that's part of the storyline in this final series, series 7. It's a different story for every season. This obviously is about drug culture and drug violence in LA. It's incredibly authentic in that it shoots in all the well-known places in LA. I recognize everything. I mean, it absolutely takes me down memory lane the whole time, but it just adds to the authenticity. It doesn't just feel like Rent a City where you're not quite sure which city you're in.
Yes.
And actually, mostly for big movies these days, American movies are shot either in Toronto or Vancouver for the purposes of saving money. But this is so LA, it absolutely captures the essence of the city. And season 7 is there. It's in one great big chunk so that you can binge watch it. Probably not this weekend because we'll all be watching different things this weekend, but it's definitely worth it. The stories are great. And Titus Welliver, Titus Welliver, who's the lead actor, is tremendous. Absolutely.
Have you ever seen
tremendous.
him do impressions of other people?
No.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
No.
Titus Welliver, I've seen him
Yeah.
on various stuff on YouTube that I find, and his impressions is absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, he's brilliant. He can do them all. I mean, he does Al Pacino. He does Al Pacino, but he does Al Pacino through the ages. So he starts with young Al in like The Godfather, Fredo, you broke my heart. I can't do it. And then he goes middle, and then now, Al Pacino's down there. And it's just brilliant how he does the whole thing. Very clever man.
It was uncanny, Russ. Honestly, for a second there, I had to close my eyes.
For a minute, you thought
And
that
honestly,
Danny LaRue was back.
Oh.
Danny LaRue is Titus Welliver tonight. Tonight.
I don't think we'll dwell on that. Thank you very much indeed. But anyway, okay. So what else have you spotted, Chantal? Because I've got one straight ahead that I actually. Can I just get your opinion? I don't know if you've caught it yet. New series of Long Lost Families back on ITV. Yeah. Very excited.
It is. I was going to mention it, but well done for mentioning it. I think we're going to get more of the same. I've just caught up with all the old ones whilst I was away. I went through all the ones about the foundlings.
They were amazing.
Extraordinary stories about foundlings who actually were children of foundlings. Or their sisters and brothers were also foundlings. I mean, extraordinary stories, but it is a great television series.
But you know what's particularly mind-blowing about foundlings is if we didn't have DNA, they would never know.
Never know. Absolutely never know. There is a theory that 25% of everybody born is not born of the father they recognize as their father. I don't quite know how people have worked that out, but that is a figure I've seen quoted in the Times.
Well, they were getting a bit fed up of looking like the milkman, I guess, but yes.
Anyway, so that aside, the other thing that's back on BBC Two is Forensics, which is the real CSI. So if you like great science, but you actually like a good story and you like seeing how the police catch really bad people, it's a very good story because the scientists, and we all now love a scientist. I think doctors had gone through this sort of place whereby we weren't very respectful of teachers or doctors, but I think in the last 18 months, our respect has grown for the people around us who've got ologies. And this program, Forensics, is very much about people who've got ologies and who work stuff out. And it's absolutely fascinating that they will immediately be able to plunder a mobile phone by getting round a code that we think nobody should get round, but they do. Or get into something on a computer that has actually been junked and trashed on a computer. But the West Midlands crime guys are one of only 2 police forces in the United Kingdom that has got this remarkable piece of kit that can retrieve anything from a computer, whether it's been junked or not. I mean, absolutely fascinating. So if you like a good story, you like retribution, and you like people with ologies, this is the show for you.
Elizabeth Green, really?
Oh, come on, Elizabeth Green. Oh my God, you're on a different planet. BBC Two, what's that? It's a television.
It's a TV channel.
You know that. And true, yes, and Chantal's knowledge is legendary. Absolutely blooming right. blooming right. There's a big thing they're pushing. I just want to mention it very, very quickly because I know it's not your cup of tea, so you won't see it. There's a huge, new Chris Pratt thing that's an Amazon original, monstrous 2-hour plus film, which I watched last night in my opioid state, and it's called The Future War.
Correct.
They've obviously spent a gazillion pounds on it, and they're pushing it out like crazy. If you've got 2 hours to kill and you just want to switch your mind off, it's great. Don't look too deeply into it. Just don't look deeply into it, because there's all sorts of plot holes that don't quite work out. But it's one of these weird things, Chantal. And I actually was thinking of you, because it starts off, I'm not going to do any spoilers. It starts off one way, and then suddenly in the middle of this kind of, it's like Alien, and it's a bit like Back to the Future. It's about time travel. It's all these things. And then suddenly it gets so incredibly sentimental. It's like they must have had a meeting with someone like yourself and going, what's missing? Well, we need it to be very, very, how sentimental would the Waltons do? Waltons, make it a sen. And you're thinking, what the hell, where are we going with this? But it all ends up, it's fine. So
In a
it's
good
2
place.
hours. Yeah, I mean, it's not an intellectual feast. I thoroughly enjoyed it because I was off my face. What the hell? I didn't care. It was great. It was. I had all the opioids kicking in. It was all great.
Well, of course, the whole thing about time travel, some people are convinced that time travel doesn't exist, because if it did exist, all those people in the future would be back here on package holidays trying to find out what history was all about.
They wouldn't. They'd know the lottery numbers. I am so shallow. They go, you'd go and kill Hitler. Yeah, I'd do that. That would be on my list. But I'd have the 3:30 at Kempton Park. I'd do a trifecta. I'd get the lottery numbers. Boom.
Yeah.
Here we go. Then I'd kill Hitler and several other people. But that's how shallow I am. I don't care. That's it. Paul Andrews is agreeing with you, Shanta. Says, I love forensics. Just hate the way they scheduled it. Episode 3 was in February. Episode 4 was last week.
And absolutely bizarre, because I checked that too. I thought, have I missed a whole load in between? But not. I think they've split the series in half, so they've restarted. It hasn't been on air for 6 months, or no, for 5 months.
Okay.
Bit odd.
Talk about a cliffhanger. Good Lord.
Yeah.
What was the film? The film is called The Future War.
Yes.
It's a very clever idea.
Yeah, really, and Chris Pratt's pretty good in it. He's easy on the eye.
I think he's just, I'm going to use the word delightful actor, if you know what I mean. He appears charming. He can do it all. He's comedic. He's good with action. He's very, very good.
Yeah.
I have to sing the praises, by the way, Chantal, of a recommendation you made a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Penguin Town on Netflix. Oh, I am just loving it. Oh, it is fantastic. Seriously. I'm so sorry. It does technically pander to the lowest common intellect, but my goodness me, it's fantastic.
It is wonderful. Yeah, that lovely documentary series about penguins in South Africa, who were all given personalities. But it's fun.
I do find it slightly annoying, though, the way the chap who's narrating pronounces Bougainvillea, but never mind. He can't quite say it properly, but never mind. We won't hold that against him.
Is that your biggest problem? That's
basically,
your biggest problem. The guy not pronouncing Bougainvillea. My God, I wish my life was that simple. This would be great.
I know I'm having a problem with that program. I don't need life in general.
You need to spend some time apart, you two.
Please.
Yeah. Paul Andrews is saying, I'm sure I'll be late to the party with these, but Netflix takes on The World, which is a good documentary, says Paul, and the BBC drama Father, Mother, Son.
Well, I haven't seen the Netflix documentary, Paul, but thank you for that. I will definitely look at it. And Father, Mother, Son was it was a drama that came out about 2.5-3 years ago with Richard Gere.
Oh my God, really?
I think that's what it is. And yes, and it's all about sort of the relationships between the father, mother, and the son. It's complicated. It's a little slow in places, but I'm a big Richard Gere fan, so I really enjoyed it.
What happened to it? Let's not do the gags. I thought he was a really underrated actor. I always enjoyed his stuff. Always enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
goodness
was.
me. So yes, Mother, Father, Son is available on BBC iPlayer now. And yeah, Richard Gere, Helen McCrory,
Helen
or
McCrory,
Oh,
exactly.
bless her.
Yeah.
Bless her. Oh,
Crumbs.
yeah. There's
And
a thing.
they're a divorced couple, and that has been a very turbulent divorce, and they have a son between them. And yeah, it's a good drama. I mean, it's quite thoughtful, it's quite ponderous, but it's worth watching.
If I've got a couple of things, I don't know if you've seen them. I'm just going to throw them in the ring because you might still be jet lagged. Not used to, and you're under house arrest. One of the things which was recommended to me, I didn't find it. Okay, I know I'll get shouted at later. The Brokenwood Mysteries. If you like Midsummer Murders, set the whole thing in New Zealand. Really nicely acted, very good ensemble acting. The scenery looks great, New Zealand, for God's sake. Brokenwood Mysteries. And then I found a really interesting thing, bugging me the name of the main actor. He was the original detective in Death in Paradise, the original Ben.
Oh, that was
Help me out here, Ben.
Yes.
Miller.
Armstrong and Miller. Yeah, Armstrong
Ben
and Miller.
Miller.
Ben Miller.
Ben
Yeah.
Miller. It's called Professor T, just the letter, Professor T.
Oh, okay.
I found it. I think I found it on possibly on BritBox. Not sure.
Okay.
And he's a professor in Cambridge. He's got great OCD, and it's the usual thing. He's dragged in by the local police force to, solve crimes.
Yeah.
And he's a very difficult, sort of curmudgeonly kind of guy. Could have been me, and he's very good. And it's interesting if you like crime dramas, which I'm addicted to. That's quite fun. Professor T and the Brokenwood Mysteries.
Now I have to tell you, okay, Paul Claridge has surpassed himself this week. Absolutely surpassed himself, because anyone who knows will know that he is a bit of a dab hand when it comes to Photoshop. And earlier, you may recall that we were saying that on the BBC, it's quite extraordinary how there are two particular presenters who always manage to get in on the action and present pretty much everything. Yeah. Well, Chantel, just think how different your life could have been.
If.
There we go. Have a look at that.
Oh, God.
Well, good work, Paul. There you go. So you got me Graham Norton's head has been superimposed onto mine, which is quite extraordinary how well it fits. And it's actually quite worrying. And Stacey Dooley, rather disturbingly, I will never unsee this again, is on top of Russ's body. Anyway, there you go. Good Lord. Well, there you have it.
And that is the only time in one sentence you will hear Stacey Dooley is on top of Russ. You'll never hear that sentence again. That's guaranteed. I can tell you.
Well, good work, Paul. I must admit, I think I need to lie down after that, but well done.
Yes, absolutely lovely. Right, we've got 4 minutes. What else in your isolation?
Wonderful film. If you didn't see the film Pride, I just spotted it on the BBC iPlayer this week. It is just gorgeous. It was nominated for lots of awards, including BAFTAs and Golden Globes. It dates back to, I think, 7 years, to about 2014. And it's about how a group of lesbian and gay activists go and support Welsh miners who are protesting. And the Welsh miners take them on and take their donations without actually realizing who they are and where they're from and what it's all about. It's a true story, and it's completely beautiful. Okay. The film was really generally overlooked at the time. I don't think it was very well promoted and should have been promoted better. But it's one of those gorgeous British movies it's a bit like Calendar Girls. It's got very much the same idea. And it's so heartwarming and so lovely that if you haven't seen it, you absolutely need to find an hour and a half to sit down and watch it. It's just gorgeous. It's called Pride, and it's on the BBC iPlayer.
Glassy Amanda saying saw Pride in cinemas. It's fantastic. There you are. You're resonating straight away there.
Strange that you should mention actually Calendar Girls, because Calendar Girls was one of the few films that's actually made me choke up a bit, because there was one line where Julie Walters is talking to her husband. The husband is the person who actually is the one who inspires the Calendar Girls to create the calendar in his memory. Yeah. And there's just a moment where she just looks so fragile in the hallway as he's got a suitcase in hand because he's going for hospital treatment, but she doesn't know this. And she just looks at him and she says, "Please don't leave me." And I just think, Oh my God! What? Well,
Oh.
what a thing to say. So yes, that was one moment there, and of
The
course the
lovely
other
John
one was.
Alderson.
Yeah, of course, John Olsen. Thank you. Yes, and of course the other film was Marley and Me, but let's not dwell on that at all. Anyway, any quick.
I'm not gonna see that.
Yeah.
Something bad happening to a dog. Don't want to hear that.
Oh, that was absolutely horrendous. I was watching that on a plane once to Las Vegas, and I was sitting there. Thank heavens it was a night flight, bawling my eyes out. And you just saw this air stewardess came up to me. She just said, really patronizing, I said, "Are you all right, dear?" And I just said, "I'm fine, thank you." I just absolutely couldn't breathe. Anyway, Chantal, thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Nice seeing you guys. See you in the flesh soon.
Oh, we would love that.
Absolutely.
Welcome,
Yes, please.
welcome home after 2
Yes.
months. Welcome home.
It's lovely to be
I may
back.
say. Yeah, I bet.
Bye, Chantal. Bye.
Bye.
There we
Bye.
go. And now all that's left for us to do is just to say a huge thank you, by the way, to all of our guests today. Thank you to Richard
been lovely.
Shelson. Thank you also as well to Eliza Rager. And then also we have to say thank you to George Taylor and, of course, to Chantal Rickards. And to you for all your messages as well.
You were rocking. You were on fire today, you guys. You were absolutely on fire. Absolutely fantastic.
There's absolutely no music to say goodbye to you with because my phone has died of battery. So we'll see you Monday midday. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Take care.